I marched a little bit in Manhattan, and it was so cool to like turn up 6th Avenue and just see as far as my eye could see just people. And I did see one protest sign that made me laugh, which said, "The Epstein files disappeared as fast as the hole in Trump's ear." And I just went, we don't need this. I know that you think you're helping here, but this is not actually helpful.
That's nice, though. Look, it's nice that they tried, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was a wine mom, and you're
Of
just
course
like,
it
it's
is,
so
yeah.
cool
Right,
that,
right.
you're rid in the streets.
Hey, you're not going to
yeah.
get it every time, but there'll be a next one. So maybe
That's
next
right.
time go with a classic No Kings. Or maybe there's only one king. It's freaking Paulie Walnuts or whatever, depending on where you live. Yeah.
You know, the only king I believe in is our Lord and Savior Jesus
King of Kings.
Christ.
Yeah.
No!
Amen. Thank God. It's really good to get that out of the way, starting off.
Just right off the top.
You never know when you go on a new podcast, it's like, are we all going to be kind of on the same page about stuff? So I'm really glad that we are here to talk about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know what wounds didn't disappear? The ones in his hands and his feet and at his side.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only Christian podcast. I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
And I'm the worst of all possible Bryans.
And we are excited today because we have brought on a truly delightful pair of guests to talk with us about Bloodborne.
We're doing
Jesus.
And AJ I don't think AJ has ever been more excited, but before we give AJ his opportunity
This is why we can't do a Cats episode.
It would just
Before
be
we
this
get
for
to
3
that, before we get to talking about Bloodborne, we should introduce our guest formally. So they are the minds between the hit podcast, What's All This Then?, which is a podcast about Britain and figuring out what exactly is going on there. And they can also be found streaming at Libtron and Cool Like. Please welcome Libby Watson and Charlotte McDonald.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, that's right. We're the twisted minds behind What's All This
Oh, yeah.
Then? That's us.
Oh, what are they going to come up with next? Oh, it's going to be something bloody crazy, I can tell you that.
So I went on What's All This Then a couple weeks ago. We got to talk about Only Connect, the absolutely bizarre and cracked British quiz show.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about getting this stuff set up, I think you mentioned Bloodborne like right away, Libby, as something that you were thrilled to talk about. And so then I went back to Brian and AJ and I said, would you want to talk about Bloodborne? AJ died.
Grabbed him by the lapels, lifted him fully off the ground, and whispered in his ear, yes.
Yeah, and my response was a little bit more subdued. I was like, well, I've never completed a FromSoft game in my entire life. I've gotten to the point where I hate them.
Yep.
And also, Josh, you played like 5 minutes of Dark Souls and gave up.
That's
so,
right. Yep.
I don't know if it's really a good idea to cover a game that we can't all beat. And then we all beat it.
Yeah,
let's
we did.
go.
Well done.
Well done.
I would like to start just by asking Libby and Charlotte, like, what is your history with Bloodborne? And also, like, I'm assuming part of the reason you wanted to talk about it is it's one of the greatest Britain simulators ever made, right?
I think Bloodborne might have been... No, okay. My personal history with FromSoftware. Tried playing Dark Souls 3. It was too hard. I gave up.
Yeah.
Then I tried Bloodborne. It was too hard. I gave up. Then I tried Elden Ring. It was too hard. I gave up. And then I went back to Dark Souls 3 with all of the skills I had amassed. And then I beat Dark Souls 3 and then beat Bloodborne and then beat Elden Ring. And suddenly, but I remember Bloodborne was the one sort of like, I feel like the dark fantasy stuff doesn't tend to do it as much for me, but the Lovecraftian shit in Bloodborne, I was like, just vibes wise, this one was the most up my alley. So Bloodborne was sort of always my favorite. And then Libby did just like, it's quite recent that you got into Bloodborne and FromSoftware shit.
Yeah. So my story is that at the start of this year, I had promised my chat that I would do Difficult Games Week as a sort of punishment. And the idea was that they would be comically difficult games that there was no way I would ever enjoy or be good at. And so I did one stream of Bloodborne, and it is very funny in hindsight going back to it, because there are the clips of me saying stuff like, what do you mean you can't pause? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Why would you be able to pause? I'm not even playing it online. That doesn't make any sense. And getting mad at my chat as they said things like, don't worry about losing 50 blood echoes because you're gonna lose way more than that later. And I was like, shut up. And so I did that. And then the fires happened in LA and we evacuated. And then when we came back, I sort of, our friend Pat said that I trauma bonded with Bloodborne.
That's fair.
It is that kind of game, though.
It is, yeah. And I had such a good time playing it that first stream that I was like, I'm just not going to do the other games that I was going to do for Difficult Games Week. I'm just going to do Bloodborne.
Have you ever done Difficult Games Week? Did that ever actually come to fruition?
No.
Wait, so you had a good time your first time playing Bloodborne. You started playing it and you were like, this is fun for me.
Yes, I had a wonderful time. Okay, so I think there are two things about that. One is that I would not have kept up with it for even 2 hours of a stream if I had not been streaming and doing Difficult Games Week. If I had not set myself this task of doing something difficult. And secondly, I would not have done it, I think, if I had not this is so embarrassing. If I had not come to a New Year's resolution weeks prior that I was not going to stop doing stuff in 2025 just because I thought I wouldn't be good at it. And then this thing came along immediately as a test of that resolution. And I was like, well, but I also really enjoyed it. And my chat was really, really nice. They were lying to me about how I was good at it already. You know, oh, you're doing really well, you know, and that was really sweet.
That's what AJ was doing for me the whole way through. He's like, wow, you're actually great at Bloodborne. It's like, shut the fuck up, AJ. I know who I am.
I'm sorry to say it. Libby, you were good at... I just told the story. Gave up on Dark Souls, gave up on Bloodborne, and you just played that whole thing through from start to finish.
Yeah,
you know, you had the normal amount of trouble with it for sure, but you never... Libby, you never gave up. And
Thank
that's
you,
what's
Charlotte.
important.
I think actually that is key, is that it was the normal amount of trouble. And we'll get into all this, obviously, but I do feel like the thing that allowed me to hold on to it was everybody being so insistent, like, no, this is really, really hard. So if you are struggling with it, that's not because you're bad, that's because it's hard. And so I had that to hold on to. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that it has completely changed my relationship with gaming and being a gamer.
Wow. I mean, AJ, as I recall, I played this game for the first time at your house.
Yes.
And
yes, you did.
I was immediately like, fuck this shit. and you tried to like teach me how to play it.
No,
and I was like,
you were also better than you thought you were, is what I will say, John.
Okay, fine. But well, tell me more about your experience with Bloodborne and why it is among your most beloved games, AJ.
So this came out 10 years ago, and I figured that out today, and it made me turn briefly into a skeleton. But I remember while I was playing that game, I hit a pretty hard wall pretty early on, and I had bounced off the original Dark Souls pretty fast. I don't even think I made it past the Twin Gargoyles when I first played it because I just wasn't having fun. But there was something about like the speed of the combat and the rally mechanic in Bloodborne specifically that made it so I realized this game is hard, but it's because I'm just not fast enough yet. And I played through the whole game. Probably I got 3/4 of the way through before my roommate was like, you know, you can use the gun to parry, right? And I had just been dodging up until that point because I couldn't figure out the parry mechanic. That's when the game like really clicked into place for me. But it's the vibes, right? This is a game that is mostly built on the immaculate gothic horror vibes that draw you into the world. Even when you have your blood smeared all over the wall for like the 9th time by, I don't know, Parl, for example. Well, except for Brian, who beat Parl on his first try somehow. Yeah. You still keep coming back to it because the world itself is so fascinating. And you're like, maybe there's a little like key that will help me out if I just explore this one little nook and cranny off to the side.
I did forget one key part of why I was able to keep playing this game that I cannot believe I forgot, which is that I made my chat pay to backseat. Because I knew those little fuckers wouldn't be able to help telling me, actually, you can use the gun to parry.
Right.
All that stuff. And I knew that...
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew that would make it intolerable for me. But I also knew I needed help. So
so you monetized your audience.
Yeah.
That's what we love to do.
I am happy to say that was the month that I played Bloodborne. was the most lucrative month on my stream I've yet had. And I'm constantly thinking, how can I get that back?
We, of course, talked about From in more detail in our episode about Dark Souls, which we did 33 years ago now.
Roughly,
with Trevor Strong. Yeah.
It's a really fun episode. Their first big success was the Armored Core series, and they eventually pivoted and had their moderate hit, I would say, of Demon's Souls in 2009, which established the Hidetaka Miyazaki vibe and his whole brand, right? Which is this very specific Souls style of gameplay. There's endurance involved in every move that you make. There's quick attacks, there's strong attacks. There is an emphasis on learning enemy patterns in order to dodge. Things become more like duels, specifically in Demon's Souls and Dark Souls. Those are like a lot of hiding behind a shield, attacking, hiding behind a shield, attacking. And so they were like, how do we make this experience more accessible and easier?
And so they made fucking Bloodborne.
A game that is faster and doesn't immediately penalize you for getting hit in the way that the Dark Souls does.
And it's also much simpler, right? There's not this wide variety of weapons that you start to get a hold of like really early on. There's not all these crazy different builds that you start the game with, so that it's like, well, I could just be doing fucking pyromancy, a totally different gameplay style. There's basically one gameplay style that you run with. And so all the variations of the weapons that you come across, for the most part, fit that style.
yes.
And for the most part, as soon as I put my hand
I was like, okay. I'm about to get roasted.
I was actually going to say, I think you are right. It's one of those interesting things that you can do sort of more unique builds in Bloodborne, but a lot of them I have not done because of how hard they are to like pull off.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the
how long it
weapons-
takes to get them.
Yeah.
like the weapons that you like, if you want to do a blood tinge build, it's going to be, you're going to just be making the game a lot harder for yourself as you try and level up that stat, because you just won't get to the weapons that like are actually good for that until way later. I've tried to do an arcane build before, and it's just like, at the end of the day, I always just come back to the big sword.
For me, it was a similar thing when I have to shout out my friend Brendan James, who actually, Brendan and I went on Retronauts earlier this year to talk about Bloodborne. And
incredible.
He was constantly telling me, I think the year prior maybe, or 2 years prior, you got to play Bloodborne. And I was like, what a joke. Haha, very funny. So he was very helpful as I was like learning how to play the game. And what the most important thing he told me was, don't worry about it. Just use the saw cleaver. Just don't worry about it. Just use that throughout the whole game, and you're gonna have a great time. And I was like, great. I don't have to worry about any of this shit.
And that was my problem. Was I the first time I played the game 5 years ago, I was like, okay, here are the three weapons that you can start with. Here's your Bulbasaur and Squirtle and Charmander. And I was like, well, I'm obviously going to choose the coolest weapon, which is the cane that also turns into a whip. And no, that weapon sucks shit, actually.
Tough to use,
I am not good enough to get through the first area with it. So I spent 4 hours playing the game, and then I was like, I'm done. I'm done here. I don't care anymore.
I had the exact same experience.
Yeah, and it is the coolest weapon, right? It's like, what do you mean I can whip people with a cane? Surely it's like, it's great for crowd control, but I mean, even then, I feel like the saw cleaver and the hunter axe are really going to be where you want to put
and
your
really
time.
mainly the saw cleaver. Yeah.
And I think that the game hints in that direction. For instance, the fact that on the cover of the
box,
game, he's carrying the saw cleaver and the blunderbuss.
Yeah.
But nor are FromSoftware games prescriptive. They let you play the game using whatever combination of tools you want, even if that combination of tools doesn't work very well. And this is something that is common throughout all of their games.
Oh, absolutely. It's just Bloodborne, I feel like, is the most refined until Sekiro, which doesn't give you any weapon options whatsoever. You have that
to
one
learn
is
how to
much more
play
of an RPG.
this specific thing, right?
Yes. And then they move away from that entirely with Elden Ring, where it's like you can play whatever style you want. But during the development of Bloodborne, Miyazaki goes off to direct Bloodborne, and Dark Souls 2 is directed at the same time at FromSoft under a completely different leadership.
I think also worth noting, just from a development perspective, that this was developed in tandem with Japan Studio, which is
Sony exclusive.
Sony Entertainment of Japan's like big in-house development unit, or at least they were, right?
So they had done a Sony project with Demon's Souls. That was Sony publishing that one.
Right.
And Sony loves to hold on to its IP forever and then also not do anything with it.
When the fuck are we going to get a new Ape Escape? We need a new Ape Escape.
Hey, Astrobot.
I know.
It is an
But
Astrobot.
the level in Astrobot was so fun that it made me want a new
Astrobot
Ape
just
Escape
reminds
game.
you of a bunch of games that they'll never make any more of.
Exactly.
And they decided that they were like, okay, we kind of fucked up, and now Dark Souls is an even bigger hit because they advertised it.
Right.
And we need to bring FromSoft back. Not to make another Demon Souls, because that cat's kind of out of the bag, but to make something else. And so that's where Bloodborne comes in, which is totally different from Demon Souls, Dark Souls, King's Field, all these things that they did before.
And a truly fantastic, exciting, and original world that they have yet to do anything with.
Right, 'cause
they
it's
haven't
not-
even ported it over to PC, which maybe
They
they've
never
even
will.
lost the source code at this point. Who fucking knows?
No,
But
they still have the source code. Just from seeing interviews with people at Blue Point, they definitely still hold on to their source code and everything for the Demon Souls remake and everything like that. But like, no, we're never going to see Bloodborne 2.
It is so surprising how like hands off they are to the point that they will not even like if you're playing Bloodborne on like a PS5, no, you're still locked into that 30 frames. per second.
30
They're not-
frames.
They're not going to do anything with it.
it's
at all.
heinous. And
Yeah, they might hand it to Blue Point in 10 years, but that's about it.
being sort of low touch and hands off defined what Japan Studios' whole thing was, right? That was why The Last Guardian took 9 years to get out the door.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for Sony, even though they had this studio making these great games, sometimes maybe you want to apply a slightly heavier touch just for the sake of making sure that you're getting a consistent product out the door. I don't know. I've never run a development studio. I think it's just worth noting that part of what makes this game so different from other FromSoft games is the fact that it was that co-production between FromSoft and Japan Studio.
Yeah, and I will also say that Miyazaki, I feel like in his soul, doesn't believe in the concept of sequels. The reason I say that is because Dark Souls 3 is like the anti-sequel in so many ways. That game to me is so much of Miyazaki being like, oh, you want a sequel? Here's all the things you like. Doesn't it kind of suck to like revive these things that you like? And that's why I love Dark Souls 3. I want to be very clear. It's one of my favorite FromSoft games because of the fact that it's like that it does feel at its core so hollow, because everyone's like, we solved the problem of either linking the flame or not linking the flame. Why are you back here? And you understand the impulse to want to spend so much time in Yharnam, but I would never want a Bloodborne 2 set in Yharnam. It would have to be somewhere completely separate.
Well, no, I think they need to go back to Yharnam because they could cover Brexit.
I see. I see.
You motherfucker.
They got a Pret a Manger in Yharnam
Okay,
now.
Charlotte, it's so funny that you said that because I was thinking we need a mod to put a Greg's in.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's more data for the Witcher versus Posher bracket that we will eventually do.
Which, here's the big question. What would the hunter get for his meal deal?
Oh, great
Oh,
question.
yeah.
Oh god.
Depends on your build.
It has
I
to be a
suppose.
blood. There'd have to be
It's
blood
the
in there
pig.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh.
Gotta be blood.
Yeah, blood, pig.
I'm picking up the Oasis and I'm injecting that right into my leg.
Yeah. Okay. There you
That's
go.
the
Yeah.
thing you do.
That red Oasis. I don't even know what the flavor is meant to be, and maybe some little the horrible cocktail sausages. Those are
Made of cleric beast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're like the beast blood pellets, or maybe the Scotch egg, of course. No, I don't want a Bloodborne 2. I'll say it. I am very anti sequels that are. You gotta fucking know that you're gonna hit it out of the park. I think if you're gonna open up something that is so beloved and was so perfect and self-contained, I don't feel like there are any aspects of Bloodborne other than the gameplay that I really need more of. That's why I love Elden Ring Night Reign so much, because it is this infinitely playable like way of being in that world again and playing, you know, something that is mostly the same as Elden Ring without that sense of like, oh, great. And now there's going to be a bunch of fucking lore. And now there's going to be a bunch of...
I mean, there is, but you can ignore it so much easier in Night
don't even
Rain
know
than
about
you
it.
can.
Yeah. It's nothing to me.
It's a parallel dimension, Libby.
Oh.
Don't you know?
Oh, that's...
It's the lands between, but it's a different one now.
It's crazy that George R. R. Martin came up with that.
Well, hey, speaking of authors, it might make sense for us to talk a little bit here about H.P. Lovecraft, right? Because so much of what Bloodborne's whole thing is being inspired by the mythos that he created.
Yeah, this is the ultimate game about Britain in that it is made by Japanese developers drawing off of an American author. So yeah, instead of doing the typical high fantasy stuff that they'd been doing since King's Field, the same kind of stuff that you'd see in like Elder Scrolls and D&D and Elden Ring, although that's a completely new creation by George R.R. Martin, of course, is that they're drawing from, first of all, we'll get to Lovecraft in a second, but first of all, what they're drawing from is the French movie The Brotherhood of the Wolf from the guy who made the Silent Hill movie.
Have either of you seen The Brotherhood of the Wolf?
No, I have no idea about this.
It's Bloodborne, but so wet.
Okay.
It is
I have seen it. I have. This was last time I was in Los Angeles. My main way that I was connecting with me and Libby's friend Pat was just watching Bloodborne lore videos together. And we did watch that movie. I think I remember feeling like there's a lot of the visuals, like the guys in that movie look exactly like the main hunter outfit for sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the Bloodborne feeling, I guess, is the way I would put it.
But yeah, something about that aesthetic really stuck with Hidetaka Miyazaki, because that story is set in 18th century France, a few decades before the revolution, and it's about a real thing where a bunch of guys went out into rural France to hunt some beast that was killing people. And they weren't sure if it was a wolf or if it was some sort of mythical creature. And then they did end up killing a wolf. But then this movie is all about how there's also secretly a Native American guy with them the whole time who does kung fu. And there's a guy who has Ivy's whip sword from Soul Calibur. And
which is how we get the threaded cane in Bloodborne.
And there's also this incredible transition that you might have seen on Twitter or elsewhere, where the scene is the end of some scene in a brothel, and it zooms up a nude woman's body, and then her tits become these big snowy mountains that they're all like climbing up to go hunt the wolf.
Did not remember that bit.
That's pretty cool.
It is a really weird time.
I wasn't thinking about watching that movie, but now that you mentioned that, I think I might be sold.
I think I'm on board.
So in addition to the Brotherhood of the Wolf, which is mostly just kind of this sort of visual aspect, also of the beast towards the end of the movie, they are drawing a lot from very specific H.P. Lovecraft stories. The Dunwich Horror, which is all about one of the great old ones of Lovecraft's mythos, having a child with a human woman in New England. Well, twins, actually. But then there's The Shadow out of Innsmouth, which is about a guy who goes to a town also in New England that's populated by a bunch of genetically abhorrent fish people, and then he finds out that he's related to them. Lovecraft was a racist. I don't know if you knew
we should
this.
lay the groundwork for that.
And then there was Lovecraft's Dream Cycle, which isn't always like horror stories, but kind of these like adventure stories about this interconnected collective consciousness that's been constructed over many generations of humans dreaming them into existence.
The dream thing is interesting because that's such a big part of what this world is a lot of it is manifested through dreams.
Yeah. So if people want to know more about like the specific influences on Bloodborne, you can read those stories, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, The Cats of Ulthar, etc. And then also there's just Berserk. Berserk is always being referenced in every single one of these FromSoft games. You start this game with this like brand on you, and it's just the symbol from Berserk. You know how it goes.
Yeah. And it's also that this game takes like, at the core of Lovecraft's whole thing is racism, right? Like the undercurrent, like fear that he has is of people who are different than him.
Well, and the idea of the universe just being too big and unfathomable. It's not just the racism. The racism plays a major role in it, but it's not just the racism.
And so Miyazaki takes the racism out of it and replaces it with a fear of ovulation and of pregnancy and of women in general for the most part. Like this game is deathly afraid of the power that women hold, or is also, I think, at the same time in awe of it. Miyazaki has gone on record saying that he is a masochist and wants to instill that feeling into other people while playing his game to show the joy in being stepped on, basically. He talks about this a lot with Elden Ring, but
I don't think he's talking about like being an actual Venus in fur type masochist. I think he's just talking about how he likes games to challenge him.
There's that huge lady with the big tits in Dark Souls 1. You know,
he does love huge ladies.
Yes.
And he
loves big ladies.
But And he loves feet, but he loves like delicate little
He loves tiny
bare
feet. Yeah, he loves his
does,
dolls, doesn't he? That's,
He does love his dolls.
and that's fine. That's fine to do. And I don't have any thoughts about that.
I do think so long as we're talking about like inspiration for Bloodborne, Miyazaki, my understanding is that he draws a lot of inspiration from just history. And there's obviously like the game Bloodborne is really just like an exploration of like the early history of surgery. That's like a big thing. And the notion that like the more you gain insight into the world and your quest for learning more about it, that leads you towards down a path of like, now I'm less human because I've gone so far down this direction. So that's like the big thing for me in terms like for me, like Lovecraft is like half of it and the other half of it is like surgery. Like the saw cleaver is literally like an amputation like tool. Like it's all that shit.
I do think we'll talk a bit more about the insight system a bit later, but I do think that the idea of you can see too much and it drives you crazy, that's a very Lovecraftian thing as well. Like I've played a lot of Call of Cthulhu in my day, and that is, there's an entire mechanic. There's the madness mechanic in Call of Cthulhu where you will see something that fucks you up, and then your madness will go up or down, and once you get to a certain point, you just become insane.
And that's manifested in this game in a mechanic called frenzy, which is a status condition that can be afflicted on you that's poison, but for your brain.
You.
It makes your brain explode.
But I do love that attention drawn to the actual history of like early modern medicine, because I hadn't really thought about that. But yeah, like you look at this period of like scientific medicine really coming into actual being at this point in time. And it's mostly just like lunatics who are like, I'm going to figure out how chlamydia works by injecting it directly into the tip of my penis. And like real thing that happened, you know, or like people just constantly experimenting on themselves or their family members, or, you know, learning how to do surgery by getting a hold of the corpses of executed criminals. Or if you couldn't get a hold of them, digging up their graves.
Digging them up. That was a big thing, right? The bag men, I believe, is the term.
Hair
the people who go around and that's
They're
that's
in the
even
game.
like
There's a bagman in the game.
There's a bagman
He
in the
bags
game
you
as
up.
well.
Yeah.
It's all fucking in there, man.
Yeah.
I also think it's fascinating that the original sin of this world, the thing that causes all the pain and agony of this world, is what appears to be a botched C-section on Queen Yharnam. Once you meet her at the bottom of the Chalice dungeon, her stillborn child, Murgo, is the driver of like most of the chaos of this game. The stillborn's pain, also I think it's also kind of Queen Yharnam's pain, is what sustains the nightmare of Mensis itself. But we'll get into all that lore later. But I do think it's fascinating as we go on to think about this, like how that surgery stuff influences so much in this game. And we start the game itself with a surgery.
Yeah.
You are getting a blood transfusion. A creepy man with bandages over his eyes wheels up to you to offer you a unique Yharnam procedure.
Oh, yeah. Pale blood. Well, you've come to the right place. Yharnam is the home of blood administration. You need only unravel its mystery. But where's an outsider like yourself to begin? Easy, with a bit of Yharnam blood of your own. But first, you'll need a contract. Good. All signed and sealed. Now, let's begin the transfusion. Oh, don't you worry. Whatever happens, you may think it all a mere bad dream.
Ooh.
This guy seems like bad news.
Yeah,
I don't know.
This seems like a bad time. Something real bad's gonna happen to you. I do want to know, did anyone have any fun names that they named their character on this very grotesque character creation screen?
I named my guy Gerbert, as is tradition.
I have played this game so many times. I had Blood Butte was my first one, and then I had Dr. Spoops, and then for this most recent run, I did Helen Hunter was my
nice. I usually default to Bonky these days whenever I'm playing any
That's good.
FromSoftware game. When I first played Bloodborne, I did try playing it on stream, and so I wanted to come up with something a little bit more interesting. So I just made an old lady, so I played as Grandma. It was just Grandma going out.
Oh,
hunting.
that's lovely.
We had to do the little Bob as well, because the outfits are really, really fun. I really love that you can give your character kind of like, teeny tiny little round sunglasses in this one.
Yeah. The teeny tiny round sunglasses.
I had the like pince-nez monocle for my character, who, by the way, was named Uldar. My first character in Bloodborne, when I played in 2020, was Hrenk.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started another new game just a few days ago, just looking at a couple things that happened at the very beginning of the game. And that character's name is...
Bless you.
How do you spell that?
It's Hinfh, but really it's more accurately represented by like a rune. It's like...
Sure.
Because it's not really... It's just...
It does kind of sound like you're coughing a little bit, which is very scary in the world of Bloodborne.
How do you cough?
Yes. AJ's famous cough.
I'm literally looking at a VOD of mine to see if I can figure out what my name was, because I really want to remember, and I know it was funny. Gungus, that's it.
Gungus!
Yeah.
That is good.
Because in my mind it was
good.
Gunt, but it's not Gunt. It's Gungus.
The Adventures of Gungus and Bonky,
Yeah.
I think, is a really great name for the next FromSoft game.
I will say, I love a character creation screen that allows you to make a completely fucked up looking guy. I don't appreciate when it keeps you constrained to certain things. I want to be able to stretch those cheeks out,
Yeah. I turned mine green and named her Alpha Boo for one of my playthroughs. And it's like, it's so cool that FromSoft doesn't care about any of that, because that's not what they're focused on. You can appear as like the most messed up person you want, but you're mostly covered from head to foot.
And you're going to
anyway.
be seen from behind.
Yeah.
So
You're going to be seen from behind.
And the camera's
you're going
not
to be
close
covered in
up.
blood
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
But yeah, you receive this blood transfusion and go to sleep, and then immediately have a nightmare where a werewolf crawls out of the floor in a big pool of blood and then is immediately lit on fire by these little messenger guys.
I love them.
Oh my god.
Do you think that we should let them be happy and revel as babes?
Yes.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this, and I suppose I'm okay. I suppose I'm okay with that.
I think they need to grow
I like
up.
to put the urn on the head personally to hide them.
I do the urn too, yeah.
That's just, but I do love them. I just don't want them to have to face the world.
Okay.
Oh, for me, it's a different
Just
reason.
hide
I think they need to learn discipline. And I think they need to grow up a bit. and
Charlotte's doing
and
gentle
prepared.
parenting to the little guys.
Yeah.
I am reading James Dobson.
That's right.
They crawl up you and are basically, you think that they're threatening because they're so, they have like these sort of ghastly faces.
Right.
But in my interpretation of this, you've been given the Yharnam blood. And the thing about receiving blood is that it cures all of your diseases. But it also brings on beasthood. If you take too much of it, you turn into a beast.
Yeah,
and
right.
what I interpret this scene as is that beast crawling out of the floor is your own beasthood trying to take you over, but you are protected by this otherworldly force sent there by Gehrman, who are these little messenger guys.
That's a crazy theory, man. No, it's just there was like a big werewolf and it was going to come and kill you, and then the little guy saved you. No,
Yeah,
I don't think
it's a
there's anything
town
else
full
to
of
it.
werewolves.
To be completely honest, that is exactly my own interpretation as well. Is that's the beastliness, the inner beastliness of man that is always there, that is brought out through the blood. That's how I.
And then
feel
it's
about it.
externalized because you have to fight one.
Yeah, so you wake up, you have no memories, and you've left a note for yourself. At least it's sort of implied that the note you find was written by you, where it says to seek the pale blood and transcend the hunt. The game never actually definitively says what the fuck that means from beginning to end.
And when you hear Miyazaki talk about it, his explanations also make no sense whatsoever.
It's just one of those things that just kind of sounds cool, and that's all it really needs to be, I think.
And you make your way down the stairs, and your doctor has either become a wolf or been killed by a wolf. And then the wolf kills you.
You can
punch it to death if you're really good at the
or
game.
if you're in like a new Game Plus cycle, you can kill it and then just move on from there. But eventually you make your way to the
that's
Hunter's
New
Street.
Game Plus, AJ. That's
Well,
different.
it's a point of pride for me to be able to start a brand new game and then kill it.
I feel the exact same way, Charlotte. I love doing that.
Because you've got to do the hold down R2 at the back to stun it, do the visceral, and then you can take out most of its hit points. But that's just me. I'm just gonna.
You have to pull its small intestine out of its asshole, and then you win, which is how you kill most enemies in this game.
Yeah, a lot of putting your hand into assholes in this one, which is good. Really good. Jumping ahead a little bit, there's a really good bit where you find a really big pig, and it's so clear that you're shoving your hand right into its asshole when you take it out from the back.
So eventually you die, or you reach the lantern, and you reach the hunter's dream, right? Yep. This is a giant workshop in a very ideal
This is the whole reason that you get that blood transfusion at the beginning, right? What this offers you is the ability to not be able to die. It takes away all your memories. And then once the night is over as a hunter, you will lose your memories of the night and sort of go back to your life. But in order to be able to be a hunter and keep doing all this stuff, the dream that sort of binds your soul to it in a way is the way to do it. It also potentially prevents you from going to shitty Valhalla.
Yes. And ruling over this workshop is this guy named Gehrman. He is the first hunter. There's also a doll that's sitting there that isn't doing anything.
Yeah, that's what most dolls do.
Yeah, that's normal.
And the little messengers give you your gun and your weapon, and we talked about those a little bit already.
Give you your cane that you should not take the cane.
Do not take the cane.
Sorry to say. It's so cool, but
don't.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's training with weights on. And eventually Gehrman gives you a warm welcome to the life of being a hunter.
Aha. You must be the new hunter. Welcome to the hunter's dream. This will be your home. For now, I am Gehrman, friend to you hunters. You're sure to be in a fine haze about now, but don't think too hard about all of this. Just go out and kill a few beasts. It's for your own good. You know, it's just what hunters do. You'll get used to it. This was once a safe haven for hunters, a workshop where hunters used blood to enhance their weapons and flesh. We don't have as many tools as we once did, but you're welcome to use whatever you find. Even the doll, should it please you.
Ugh. Don't say that, mate.
That's a bit much.
Don't like that.
Particularly once you find out who that doll is and its relationship to this whole thing. Sure. Dear God, Gehrman is a bad dude, but also his advice that he gives here, right? Don't think about this. Just go kill beasts. That is most people, I would imagine's first run of Bloodborne if you aren't using a guide online, right? You're going to go out, you're going to kill some beasts and have some fun.
Drag me, fine.
But I would argue that Bloodborne is a game that is designed in a way that many FromSoftware games are to be played 3 times. And it is designed to be played blind because as you go along, you learn more about the world. And as your insight increases, you are able to figure out exactly how you're supposed to get the good ending in this, because it is really hard to put those pieces together unless you are using a guide. So more likely than not, Gehrman's right. You're just going to go out there, you're going to hunt beasts. And boy, howdy do you, because you are dropped into Yharnam Central. And dear God, this is a gauntlet. This is the hardest first level, I think, in any video game I have ever played.
Yeah.
It was fine for me.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. Shut up. Just going to say the thing about the Orphan of Kos in a second. It's going to make me really fucking mad. Go on.
I'm not going to.
No, go on. Why don't you say it?
I will not be saying. Here's my promise. I will not be talking about which bosses I beat on my first try today.
No. No. Cause?
We'll save that for the DLC episode.
Wow.
Took me about 70 tries. I counted.
Here's what I'll say. As a show where we fight with each other frequently, it's really nice to see the same sort of dynamic between the two of you, where it's just like...
It always sucks when people just get along too much, you know?
Yeah, it's really important to maintain a competitive spirit in everything. And that very competitive spirit is what will take you through this first bit. Because as AJ was saying, it's tough as balls.
Hard.
Like you will most likely just walk forward, get one shot by the first guy you see and die. That will likely be your first experience with Bloodborne. And if you don't like that, I've got bad fucking news for you about this game.
Well, and a big thing in From games is usually like, oh, okay, so it's an obstacle course. So you're learning where each obstacle is and you make your way through it. However, there's this like floating variable of the different villagers walking down the road. So it changes over time and you can't just have your set pattern.
I would say that, again, I didn't really expect to be playing this game for any reason other than a sort of joke. But I was so baffled. I know that first stream I was saying, literally, how are you supposed to do this over and over again? I was like, this doesn't make any sense. You maybe pick up like 2 pebbles. And I was like, okay, so there are these groups of villagers. Am I supposed to like, throw a pebble at one of them and fight them one by one? Because it's so hard to, do what you are kind of supposed to do and kite them away. So you can just be like, all right, I'm gonna, get them one by one.
Hey, Libby, you've got to kite them away.
Those pebbles, by the way, the flavor text describes them as quite thrilling.
I love that.
Fun.
It's true. They are a little bit thrilling when you get a guy to run at you with his stupid torch. The voice lines on the villagers are all timers. My favorite one is, "It's all your fault." I love that.
I love you, plague-ridden rat.
I think also this dialogue, these NPCs owe a lot to Resident Evil 4. There's a lot of overlap in terms of the way they treat you, the fact that they've clearly got something weird going on, in that they just
and the burning set piece at the center of their town. And what's funny about this is that you can pretty much run through that first area and dodge and make your way to the other side.
You sound just like my chat.
But here's the thing. But
you can just run through it.
No, but here's the thing is that you can't. Right? Because there comes a point where you reach a giant man who is pounding like a cinder block against a door, right? And he's not paying attention to you, so you can try and sneak past him. But if you do that in the area that follows with all these dogs, he will teleport and appear in front of you, right? So it's a game that in like normal FromSoftware games, you can always run past enemies and make your way to the next checkpoint. Yeah. That is usually what happens, but not so in Bloodborne. It wants you to learn the mechanics.
I feel like you can still pretty much just do the run once you learn it in Bloodborne.
But you're not supposed to want to. That's the joy of these games. And is that sure. And I think FromSoft agrees with me about that. You can just run past them. Okay, well, why don't I just don't play the game? Why don't I just go and do the washing up then? Because the fun of it is playing the fucking game. It's the combat, It's like, oh, aren't I clever? I ran. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's a problem with like Dark Souls 1 is that I think that area is harder than Central Yharnam, the lead up to not the Cabra demon.
The gargoyles?
No, not the gargoyles. The Taurus demon.
You fucking idiot.
The fucking
this idiot thinks it's the gargoyles.
Come on.
The upper undead berg.
Yeah, sure. But
which is basically the first area outside of the tutorial.
That's right.
And it makes you do this really long run because it's just trying to teach you run past everything forever for the rest of time. And then you do that for all of Elden Ring. And you're like, why have I just been wasting my time on this game for 170 hours?
But the thing is, of course, that eventually you are going to have to develop competence in combat because the one thing that gates you in this game is the bosses. Yes. And the only way to get past the bosses is by defeating them in combat.
Yeah. You have to actually kill them.
And in this area, it like the bosses are very far away and they're your next checkpoint. Yeah. Right. And so you have to beat one or both of them. You don't have to fight the optional boss. But most people do because it is the easiest.
And there are a lot of branches in this area that kind of you start to learn how things loop around, how you build little shortcuts, Zelda dungeon style. And when I was playing with the cane, I was like, none of these paths are leading to any kind of fruitful run for me. So you do have to, I guess the philosophy of it is like people can just start over, but it feels like shit to start over. And so this second time I came in, I was like, well, I have to do this for the job, and I don't know if I can. So I'm going to look up everything. I was like, okay, I'll start with this weapon. I will only level up these stats because they're the bottom stats, the arcane and the blood tinge stats that you basically just shouldn't touch if you're an idiot beginner like me. And like, I'm going to just do like the most orthodox things that I can as I run through this game. And also you have to stock up on your healing items and your bullets. Yeah. And you can supplement bullets by cutting down your health. You can also heal yourself in a really interesting way where if someone hits you, If you hit them back really quickly, you can get back most or all of that health.
And that's called the rally mechanic.
But otherwise, you have these like healing potions that work much faster than Estus flasks in Dark Souls. However, they do not replenish at the checkpoints. You have to stock up on them.
Right. I guess my big question is, how would we describe the way that all of this feels? Like just getting started? Because for me personally, I was like, fuck this game. And I'm curious if that was your experience as well, Libby and Charlotte.
It's scary.
It's so scary.
It's really scary, man.
Yeah.
People pop out from around corners swinging at you.
Yeah. And again, it's not okay. So, for example, the comparison with Resident Evil, I can't play Resident Evil because I'm so legitimately scared of zombies it makes me too freaked out. I don't like thinking about it. I don't like thinking about a zombie apocalypse. I don't want to die like that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out like that. Whereas with Bloodborne, obviously all the, it's all, sort of spooky and atmospheric or whatever, but it's not scary because of that. It's scary because you know that anything can kill you very quickly. And any one of these guys, even the shithead away guys, can fuck you up. But, quite quickly you come to, those really tall, skinny enemies with the crazy hair. They're in one of the buildings.
Yeah.
They will fuck you up big time. And you very quickly learn, like, anything around any corner can kill me. You start to learn where all the enemies are and start to feel scared. Like when you're going around a corner because you're like, oh, I know that
It's
one
coming.
guy is
It's
there.
coming.
Honestly, what it is kind of like a generalized anxiety disorder simulator, which is kind of weird to enjoy.
Well, because you conquer it, right?
You can overcome it. Exactly. And that is the big thing is like, it's so ingrained in me when there's like an enemy coming at me to be like, I'm going to back away. I'm going to lift up the shield.
Yes.
Right. And the kind of whole point of the rally mechanic is the game is like, no. You've got to get in there.
Yeah.
You've got to, if you've just gotten a hit, you can't be scared right now. You've actually got to go and do some more attacking. You've got to, it's a confidence builder. There's Bloodborne. That's really
That's
what it
why
is.
I liked
Yes.
it.
And
That's why I liked
instead
it.
of having a shield in your left hand, you can get a shield later, but it's a joke. Instead of having a shield in your left hand, you have a fucking gun. And that's confusing at first because it is, unless you've played like another From game and you know how that parries are mapped to your left hand. So you're like, maybe this is a parry or something. But like, usually a gun means you shoot things. You go around like shooting stuff, and then that's your primary way of hitting them. But
Especially if you're like me and you're used to immersive sims where, you have gun or you have
immersive
melee.
sims, what kind of games would be an example of that, Josh?
Oh, Thief 2.
Oh, I've played
Deus
those
Ex.
games. They're kind of dark.
Yeah.
And here, the gun is used to parry. You have to wait for an enemy to swing at you, and then you shoot them, and then it stops them up, and then you have a chance to do a riposte, or in this game, a visceral attack.
Right. And you get a very satisfying, it goes like, when you've
it's
done the timing
so
correctly.
Good. I need that sound to follow me around in my real life for sure. It's wonderful. And I actually, before I forget, want to quickly shout out the video by H Bomber Guy about why Bloodborne is so good. Talks about this exact thing of how it teaches you to be aggressive. And I think I was so stupid coming into this game that I just didn't know not to be. And so I think that's why I kind of took to it faster than, for example, people who have played Dark Souls before, or even like sort of any similar game. I was used to games where you're generally not punished for being aggressive, going in, too hot because you don't die immediately. Yeah. And so I was just sort of like, sure, I guess I'll just dodge this. I didn't expect a shield or any of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the lessons they take from the combat in Bloodborne, they apply to all their future titles as well. And I find that Bloodborne is a great gateway game to the rest of the FromSoft world because it is so contained. It's so short. And once you learn the combat from Bloodborne, you can beat Dark Souls 3. You can beat Elden Ring because you've beaten Bloodborne.
I disagree,
which is harder.
But I understand that it may be true for many people. It is not true for Brian.
You haven't tried since you've beaten Bloodborne, Brian. And I would be curious to know if the
it won't
combat
change
felt
anything.
easier.
I played enough of Elden Ring to know that I can't do it. And
I'll just tell you that's what I thought. I keep telling people this year, hey, I thought I couldn't do any of this shit, and now I can.
Look, I made it past the giant. I know what my limits are, and I just Bloodborne is where it's built just right for me that I could get through it, but I couldn't get through the DLC without using the cum chalice, which we don't have to talk about here. But
so what if there was in this game, just an idea, what if there was like a system where you could hack keypads and then it would get you into certain areas?
They don't have electricity, Josh.
You could bypass those areas without the need to directly engage in combat. But just a thought. That would be a cool
They do
mechanic.
have an item that's basically Garrett's eye that zooms in. You get the little like loop or whatever, and it's just like, oh, okay, well now I'm looking a little bit closer at
I think particularly this first area is so huge, and you go through a whole bunch of different things. You go through the sewers, you go through people's houses at various points.
That one house is probably my favorite bit of storytelling in the whole game, is where you have like the guys talking in the loft above you. So you like, I know there's two guys up there, you know, it's all dark. And then there's the old man sitting in the wheelchair who just fucking blasts you. And then that becomes like your first bullet farm in the game.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
Every time I felt bad, I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, but you do have the bullets.
to just keep killing
I
you.
really need those.
And it has a note about the healing church.
There's only one other character you've met that is sitting in a wheelchair, and it's the guy who helps you out right at the start of the game.
Yeah.
So
The
I
kindly
walked into
old
that
man.
room, and I was like,
it's
oh,
like,
cool,
surprise!
another NPC. And then we comes at you with the machine gun. I was like, fuck, this game is
Yeah,
so
it turns
good.
out the villagers are on high alert because this is the Night of Beasts, and they don't fuck around.
One thing that I did in this game is completely fuck up even with the people helping me in chat with their money, completely fucked up every single NPC quest. As an example, you know the puddle man in the church?
He's so nice.
The nicest guy.
Did you kill him?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't.
Jesus.
I didn't kill him, but I did. The only person I found, I was so excited to finally find someone I could invite to the church. And it was the guy who was covered in the blood of the child he just ate, which I didn't notice because I was like, hey,
not the beast
dude,
man. No.
That's so great. I know this place where you can go. You're going to have a great time. Just completely missed all of the context clues. And he was like, ooh, lovely. Yes, I'll go there. And then you show up and the puddle man is a puddle of blood and you have to kill him. Yeah, it was devastating.
Our Odin chapel dweller who has no name, but
I
is
know.
so sweet.
And he's like, oh, hello. Oh, it's nice to see
We have a clip
someone
of
for
him
the
if you'd
first-"
like.
I would love to because
Yes.
his voice is so charming.
It's so good.
Let's hear him.
Oh, you must be a hunter. Very sorry. The incense must have masked your scent. Good. I've been waiting for one of your ilk. These hunts have everyone all locked up inside, waiting for it to end. It always does. Always has, you know, since forever. But it won't end nicely. Not this time. Even some folks hiding inside are going bad. The screams of women folk, the stench of blood, the snarls of beasts. None of 'em's too uncommon now. Yharnam's done for, I tell ya. But if you spot anyone with their wits about 'em, tell 'em about this here Erden Chapel. They'll be safe here. The incense
his
wards
wits
off the
about him.
beasts. Spread the word,
Have you seen
Tell him to
anyone
come on
covered in
over.
blood?
if you wouldn't mind.
Very dead children lying about and sitting all right.
He's got this great like later on. He's like, after the hunt's over, do you want to be my
I
friend?
have that
Do you
clip
want
too
to hang out?
if you'd like.
there it is.
Yes,
If you
please.
please, kind hunter, when the night of the hunt passes, suppose we could be friends?
Oh, mate. Yes,
Now,
of course.
I know I hardly deserve it, but
Oh, no, you do.
You deserve everything.
just- ask, you know. Out of line.
Nervous
Yes.
laughter.
Perhaps so. But, well, give it a thought. If you wouldn't mind, of course.
This is just me when I ask anybody to come on the podcast.
100. I was just thinking he was hitting them with the no worries if not.
I'm surprised he doesn't say no worries. If
No
not,
worries
truly.
if not. Yeah. No, the part of the reason I find him so charming is there's a YouTube account that I adore called Rob's London, and it's just this guy who sounds, I'm not kidding, exactly like that. I mean, he could be the voice actor who's like, oh, hello, and welcome to the channel. Well, today we're looking at an old post box on the corner of the Strand, and it's lovely. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Anything you want to
Whatever you
tell
want.
me.
Whatever you want.
You want to drape yourself in a red drape and look like an evil, scary ghoul. I will
Yes.
still love you forever.
First time you played Libby, you hadn't rescued anyone else at that point. You only rescued the loathsome child eater.
Find them.
Well,
find
it's a
them?
little, the game doesn't tell you anything. So
No.
there's a guy close to the beginning who gives you a whole rundown on where you're supposed to be going. But you just have to press interact next to a window.
Didn't know that.
You can hear him
Right.
coughing, but like
You have to know that and I did not know this the first time I played it at all, is that there are some windows that have little lamps, and those ones with the little lamps have people in them that you can go and talk to.
And I knew that with the doors. I could figure that out with the doors, but not with the windows.
Yeah, basically.
And that talking to that particular NPC during the pandemic was harrowing. And also his whole storyline, because he's done everything right? He stayed in on the night of the hunt. He did everything he was supposed to do, and he still turns into a beast. And also he opens the conversation
guy,
by going,
not the guy at the chapel. Yeah.
And he opens his conversation by going, which again, during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, was harrowing.
Yeah.
But again, this game gives you all of these anxieties in the way that I think all good horror content does. It presents you these anxieties and allows you to face them in a safe space and overcome them in a way that I don't think any other video game has ever allowed me to do, even any other horror game that I've ever played.
And I think to the point of overcoming, I just wanted to take a second here to talk about the way the progression system in this game actually works. For people who have maybe never played one of these, FromSoftware games before, or maybe you have and you haven't played Bloodborne specifically, basically the gist of progression is that whenever you kill a guy, they drop blood echoes, or in the other Souls game, they're called souls. These are essentially experience points. And as you progress, you will continue to rack up more and more blood echoes.
Yep. And when you die, you drop them and you have to pick them up, or otherwise you lose them. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is in order to be able to actually spend these blood echoes, which you can do back at the Hunter's Dream, either on upgrades to your stuff or
leveling up,
upgrades to yourself, actually, like leveling up, you need to have those echoes in hand. However, every time you die, you drop the blood echoes. Now, there is sort of a dungeon crawler type thing here where, as we were saying earlier, it's hard to get through all of the guys. And particularly early in the game, you will be dying often, and you will be dropping your blood echoes. And so the game is tacitly encouraging you to go back every so often once you've accumulated a decent number of blood echoes so that you can buy that stuff and do those upgrades.
Am I right in saying that you can't even level up until you have gotten at least one insight?
Yeah,
that's
correct. You have to face a boss.
This is
you
the
have
one-
to witness a boss.
Yeah, you have to look at a boss and go, my God, that thing is crazy. And so now I'm a little crazier. And so when I go back home, that inanimate doll is going to stand up and she's going to talk to me and she's going to help me out.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the thing you can do if you play the game enough times is you can find a little consumable that lets you get that insight, and then you can go back and you can level up with the doll before you've looked at. Because the thing that you will do inevitably is, if you've successfully made it through a bunch of enemies, right? You'll be collecting up all of your blood echoes, and then you'll be faced with a boss for the first time. You will die, and all of your experience will be locked in that room with that boss.
Yep.
The worst feeling.
And
feeling.
I guess I'm used to that because I've played, Dark Souls and Elden Ring and Hollow Knight and those things. It's become a very standard.
Shovel Knight does this also.
It's become a really standard. It's become like a trope of game design at this point. Where I think it's a little bit more frustrating to me is on the insight level. Right. There's a second currency. Insight is this thing that you use to do the multiplayer stuff, right? If you want to summon a player to help you with the boss, which is kind of hard to do in 2025. And there are benefits to holding on to as much insight as possible in this game. There are also disadvantages. It makes certain aspects of the game harder. But there are like fun little like story Easter egg things that you will see if you have 30 insight, 40 insight, 80 insight.
And you gain that insight either by facing the cleric beast or your first, I would argue, non-optional boss in the game, which is Father Gascoigne, who is a hunter exactly like you. He has the hunter's axe, which was what I started off with. So literally we had the same weapons
weapon
facing each other. He was just using it a lot better than I was. And I got stuck on him pretty hard my first playthrough.
And so it sucks if you're like summoning people to help you and you're playing the trial and error aspect of the game that the game wants you to play, and then you just sort of run out of help.
Yeah, you run out of help, and then it forces you to do it one-on-one to learn the systems yourself, which can be off-putting, I think, to a certain kind of player. Not to me personally. I love that shit. But there is an NPC that you can find that is Gascoigne's daughter in that first run, who can give you a music box that makes Gascoigne's beast phase in his second half a little bit easier, but she's also kind of tucked away in a corner and a little bit difficult to find. And also the music box really doesn't do a whole lot. It staggers him for like a second, but it's not going to be enough
it
to
can
like
make him
fully
turn
take
into
him
a
down.
beast earlier too, which makes the fight harder.
No, it's mostly just there to make you feel sad.
Yeah.
Because you meet
like
a
most
little
things in this
girl,
game.
and she gives you a music box, and she's like, can you go find my mama? My dad's out there. And then you find the mama, and she's been killed
She's
by
dead.
dad, who's gone crazy.
Right.
And then you go back and you say to the little girl, hey, I found a nice place for you to go. There's this guy, he looks like a puddle. Don't kill him. You won't be able to anyway. You can go there and everything will be fine. And then she gets killed on the way there. So it's really...
And what is it that kills her?
It's the pig.
Giant pig.
It's the pig.
But you get the pig. You get the pig because the pig is a great source of blood echoes.
Yeah.
So,
It is.
We
And if you
love
kill the pig, you get a hold of her ribbon, which you can put on your little dead
Your little
spirit guys.
Your little messenger guys.
They can
Really
wear
is.
this
It's
dead
not all bad,
child's
actually.
ribbon.
Yeah.
That is also a really great reveal because there's a ladder you can climb right next to the pig that leads to a whole bridge full of enemies and also a giant flaming ball that can pretty much one-shot you, right? And so it's like, oh, I'm going to be clever about this. I'm going to go around the back. And so you go through a tunnel at the ladder's base, and then you just hear the pig
It's the pig.
coming first. And then you're like, what the fuck is that? And you hear, ah! And you're like, what is that? And then you're run over and you're one-shotted by the pig.
There's so many moments like that. Those were the things about this game where I was like, this is fucking great. Where
They're
the game
fun.
is
Yeah.
just openly trolling you.
It's Looney
at
Tunes.
every tune, at every turn. And I guess I did want to talk about the Father Gascoigne fight because I think it's just a perfect exemplar of the way that this game does its world design.
Yeah.
Where everything is unified together. You have this verticality,
Sure.
which I guess you don't really get quite as much of in Gascoigne, although you can go up the
It's
stairs
also
and stuff
kind of
like
a
that.
cover shooter. If you're really smart, you can duck behind gravestones and trees while he's trying to shoot at you to dodge his bullets and everything. And what I found for his transformation phase, I don't know if this is true for other people, I switch guns mid-fight. When he goes into hard mode where he's, got the whole axe put together and he's hitting you harder, I had trouble staggering him with my pistol, so I switched over to the blunderbuss and had an easier time staggering him with that weapon.
I do remember Brendan telling me Cleric Beast is hard and then Father Gascoigne is really hard and you're going to beat him and then you're going to feel like God and the rest of the game opens up. And I was like, Brendan, you have nailed it. That is exactly what happened. I did use the music box. It's one of those things where I'm sure that the advantage it gave me in hindsight was minimal, but at the time I was like, this is amazing. Anything that I can use to make it feel a little bit better.
And also you found it on your own volition, like just out in the wild. And you're like, I wonder if this is going to work. And then you play it and it works. I mean, there's nothing quite like that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, in my case, Brendan was like, all right, you're going to go to this window. You're going to talk to this guy. She'll give you a music box. But same story, basically.
I hope he paid you.
Yes, he did a couple times. He did a couple times actually backseat in the chat, and I was like, "Honey, you didn't have to pay."
That's really funny.
But thank you.
You have my number.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we hit Odin's chapel and we meet the Puddle Man, and this is where you hit the cathedral ward.
Udon. Udon. It's he's got
Udon.
tasty
He's a
noodles.
big noodle.
Yeah.
He's a huge nude. There's a point where you hit Cathedral Ward, which is this big open area, and I think you can run straight up to
you can
the
go right up
vicar?
to fight Vicar Amelia, and that's what the game is telling you, is like, go up to fight Vicar Amelia, go up to the chapel, it tells you to go up to the upper chapel ward, which is my favorite because you never actually have to go there in the game. And this is another From thing. This is a big thing in Elden Ring. This is giving you the boss that you're not supposed to beat yet. If you're really good, you can go for it. but it's also offering you some new places because the Cathedral Ward is sort of a hub as far as the map is concerned. Your real hub is the Dream because you can teleport everywhere, but this is where you're going to discover most of your new areas.
Right. And one of those new areas is Old Yharnam.
Yeah.
And when you go down there, you open this door and there's a message.
It's a sealed door. It's been sealed off for years, saying this is this whole part of Yharnam has been completely taken over by the beasts. So it's sort of an I Am Legend situation where it's a beast society and you're going to go in there and you're going to fuck it up if you do.
Yeah. So you open the door and you get this warning from the local hunter.
You there, hunter? Didn't you see the warning? Turn back at once. Old Yharnam, burned and abandoned by men, is now home only to beasts. They are of no harm to those alive. Turn back, or the hunter will face the hunt.
So this is Jura.
Yeah.
And the thing about Jura is that he sucks. He shoots you with a Gatling gun immediately if you take a further step in.
He's on Overwatch for almost the entire level.
Yeah.
There's hardly anywhere you can go that is free of his line of sight, essentially.
It's a clever way to set up a final boss, except he's not the boss. You don't he's just a guy that you can bypass.
Yeah.
And you actually should not fight him here because he's way too hard.
And I mean, he does his one weakness is gravity. He can fall off that building pretty quick.
Oh, that's funny.
And you can get all of his stuff. But what I think is fascinating about this is that you don't actually have to fight him, and then
you can join him
make
later.
him de-aggro, right? If you don't kill any of the beasts in Old Yharnam, and this is the part that sucks, if he doesn't accidentally kill any of the beasts in Old Yharnam by shooting them with his Gatling gun while aiming at you, you can reload at a lantern behind him, Parl's lantern specifically, and walk up the ladder behind him. He's like, oh, you didn't kill any beasts. Well, I guess we can be friends if you want.
I did that.
And then you can attack him and knock him off the building anyway.
I befriended him. I joined his little thing. I was like, that's cool. And then you have to like still get out without killing any beasts. And I was doing fine. And then I dropped out of a little ledge and kind of fell on one beast and did like 5 damage to it. And he's like, fuck you, you piece of shit. And he just starts shooting at me again.
Well, to be fair, he does ask you not to come in and not to kill anyone. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, is he really all that bad? He just wants to protect, you know,
and
his
he's
friends.
setting up like a story idea here, right? You've been seeing people turn into beasts, and he's saying they're still kind of people. Like they're still beings worthy of dignity that have thoughts and minds. And as you can see in this area, they have their own religion. Like the dogs have discovered religion, call the cops, not the normal cops. Because they have this like church with another beast kind of like tied up in a big chandelier and they're all chanting to it. And so this guy was a hunter and was like, oh, actually what we've been doing this whole time, killing beasts, is really fucked up. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah. I've never been quite clear about the lore points of the branch of hunters who got really into blowing stuff up. I know that that's a whole thing. I unfortunately did not. I've not yet managed to befriend him.
It's tricky.
I tried, and I had chat explaining it to me and saying contradictory things, and I got up the ladder, and he just is just like to me. So that was cool. So I did have to beat him in order to get his stuff, and I didn't know about the shoot him off the edge trick. I don't think so. I had to do it regular style, and I was heartbroken because I really wanted to be his friend, and if I had known, then maybe I would have tried to. I mean, getting through that level without killing any beasts is tough.
But after you make it through this area and you unlock the shortcut, thank God, you come across the real major roadblock in my first time playing through this game. The Blood-Starved Beast is at this like forgotten chapel at the bottom of Old Yharnam.
Yeah.
And he has poison because what these beasts are afflicted with is not just regular beasthood. This is a thing called ashen blood, which means that at a certain point of damage to this beast, he starts shaking poison at you to the point where you can't actually use an antidote in time to attack him again. Like you can, but you run out of antidotes so fast, and he's so fast and furious that it eventually essentially just puts a new timer on it, right? You have to beat this beast within this time limit or you're going to die of poison. And I threw my head at this guy 40, 50 times, I think, my first time playing through the game. And once I was able to get through him, no other boss in the game gave me as much trouble as Bloodstarved Beast. And now I replay him and I'm like, all right, if you parry him, it's fine. Yeah. You can just shoot him once and rip out his skull and it's great. But yeah, no, I didn't. Am I the only one who had like a whole bunch of trouble with Bloodstarved Beast?
I definitely had trouble with him. I don't think I had the most trouble with him. I can't really think of which bosses outside the DLC I had the most trouble with, but yeah, definitely some of them. I will say this is a good moment for me to bring up the boss run back, which was not a mechanic I was familiar with before playing these games.
Oh, right. Sure. It's not a checkpoint right before the boss. There's always like a little obstacle course you got to get through every time you're fighting the boss. Yeah.
And often, often there's a shortcut that you can open that kind of shortens it, but a lot of the time there are enemies that you that you learn how to dodge perfectly on your way because you've done it 20 or 30 times. I think the worst one was in the like the poison woods for me, the run back to the shadows of Yharnam.
It's okay because then it's an easier boss.
Is this something, speaking as somebody who has not played other FromSoft games, this is something that's just the case in all of these games?
Not for Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. They just
finally
walked back on it with Elden Ring. There's a few moments in Elden Ring where you have to do a walk back for sort of like silly lore reasons, but for the most part, they'll just put you right in front of
they usually put a checkpoint right in front of the boss in Elden Ring, and they make up for it by making the boss one-shot you.
In the context of Bloodborne, it's fine. When I moved on to Elden Ring, I was like, thank fucking Christ, because it is something that wears a bit thin. I get what it's for. I get what it's doing. I support the whole FromSoft thing of pissing you off and making you upset. I do think that it is just a touch too cruel for me, especially when I'm crashing out, getting mad at the boss, and then I have to do the fucking run back again. Especially I think the worst one for me is, and I don't remember what this area is called, but when you fight the one reborn, that run back for me was especially brutal.
In Yahar'gul, the unseen village.
No,
stand on a plate and stuff. Yeah, I think I agree.
You gotta teleport.
It's just very discouraging to be like, I can't just get back into the challenge that's giving me trouble. I have to do a bunch of bullshit for a couple minutes first.
Stuff that you can do. It's like I've already proven that because for me personally, I think the way I like to play these games is I don't like to run past the enemies. I like to at least have a go at beating them once, prove to myself that I can defeat this group of enemies, this sort of area of enemies, and then after that it's whatever. I'll just continue on with the game. But I do like to sort of prove to myself that I can beat them at least once. Now once you've already done that and then you have to run past them like 50 times, it's like, well, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I find that I am more forgiving of it in the older games for the most part,
Yeah.
I kind of like getting into the flow of it eventually, where you're so good at the run back that you're not even really thinking about the fact that there is one anymore. So I don't think I rub up against it sort of that badly, but I think it was in Elden Ring because most of the time you don't have to do it, and there were just a few moments when you did. Those were the most annoying ones.
It stands out
for me, I think. But in Bloodborne, you kind of just get used to it and it becomes nothing. That's kind of how I feel about it.
I guess this kind of rolls up to bigger questions about like game feel generally, because one of the things that people love so much about this game is the way it feels. There are so many mechanical components that, whether you're talking about all of these things that we've been talking about so far, right? The basic encounters, the progression, the way the bosses work, and the dodging and parrying mechanic, all of those things add up to something that I think people just find really compelling in its entirety. And maybe this is the part of the podcast where I should say that for some reason, this stuff doesn't really work for me.
I have to leave the call.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how funny it would be to just turn off my camera and leave.
And even though there are times where I can get in flow with it, I think that there's so much friction that it offers that I can't get enough into flow, that I find myself getting pushed back by the game in a way that I find to be frustrating rather than fun. And I just think that's so interesting because I seem to be very much in the minority on this one with gaming generally.
No, I'm with you, Josh. Not with Bloodborne necessarily, but with FromSoft games, Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like at its best, and I even feel I don't even know how to feel with Bloodborne. I played it for work, so I'm just like, I don't know. I got through it. I don't hate it. I just got to such a point with Elden Ring where I was just pissed off with it, and I feel like the times when I get the most engaged is when it's just feeding my like addiction centers of my brain rather than the parts of my brain that are like, this is fun and I'm enjoying it and I would like to keep doing this thing that I like.
That being said, Josh, you did beat this game in a way that you did not beat Dark Souls. And I'm wondering what it was about Bloodborne that had you keep going.
It's the strength of the world. I just think the world is so fucking cool. And the physical presentation of the audio presentation of it, it just really draws me in a way that is not the case with any of the Souls games.
Well, I mean, speaking to that cool world, we actually get a brief snapshot of life outside of Yharnam, the more provincial life of this world when we go to Hemwick Charnel Lane.
This is my favorite part of the game, I think.
It's so cool, isn't it?
I did this before doing lower Yharnam, old Yharnam, because I went in, the guy was like, turn back, and I was like, you know what? He has a point.
Okay.
Yeah. Like who am I to go down here and fuck with all of these like living creatures? Instead, I'm going to kill a bunch of women. So I also was like, I'm not going to another area yet. I want to like go up to the chapel and fight the boss up there, and then fought the boss a few times. I was like, oh, I can't do this. So then I found another door and just happened to go into Hemwick Charnel Lane. And yeah, it's like you see how other people handle the beast scourge. They start killing people kind of in advance of them turning into beasts. And these women are so much more vicious than the townsfolk. Yeah. Right. They've got all their implements ready and they've got some magic on their side. If you go in there with a high enough insight, there are extra enemies that show up at the very opening of the level. These nasty little dudes with little sickles that you'll see in the boss fight too, while also running through all of these like townsfolk with their rifles and hunting dogs.
Yeah, it's a tough area for sure.
But once you get past that initial part to the first checkpoint, it's not so tough. Like it's more, you don't get crowded out as much. You're kind of going one-on-one with your challenge.
Yes. The closer you get to the Witches of Hemwick, it's the better it is, and also it becomes a really good farming area later on. So I have sort of fond memories of it for that reason. It's like, oh, that's where I went and got my blood echoes. Oh, that's lovely. But no, the ladies are fucking sick as hell. I love how insane they are.
From does great like hag villages, because Elden Ring's hag villages are also fantastic.
Yeah, I was thinking the dancing ladies.
The horrible Dutch women who cut your skin off and make gods out of it.
Yeah, those are my girls. Yeah.
And here, this feels very, I don't know, it feels very Macbeth. It feels very Sleep No More. I'm very much at home here. And because I did this first, I was a little under leveled. And so I was just getting a shit ton of blood echoes from my perspective while going through this area.
I think it feels a little better because I tried going down into, the deeper parts of Cathedral Ward where there's a sort of, it's more of a town. Yeah. And I found that area for some reason just especially stressful. There were a couple times that I got killed, like going up a ladder, which is very heartbreaking. And then there's something about the Charnel Lane area, which is a little bit more open. And I think also, I don't know, I'm kind of making this up, but I wonder if it feels, this part feels more English to me because I grew up in a village. And so where I grew up looks more like Charnel Lane than it does like Upper Cathedral Ward. Yeah. Actually, it kind of looks weirdly exactly the same.
You lived on a cliffside, like.
Yeah.
A bunch of executioners there with their giant swords.
Yeah, I lived at the Charnel House. Yeah.
All the ladies would just see you walking on the sidewalk and start screaming at you.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was like, hello, Maureen. Yeah, so. Yes. Hey, swinging the axe again, are we? Yeah, lovely. No, I don't know. It's there's something about it that speaks to me in a sort of deep, the same way that in the area of The Witcher 3 with the witches. I guess I love witches. I'm learning.
You're a very pastoral person. That's what we're learning about.
Exactly.
You.
Yeah,
well, you used to be a witch, of course.
Okay, well. Yes, like many gothish teenage girls in British villages, there was a brief period in which my form of rebellion was saying, and I'm a witch actually, Mum, can you get me a cauldron? Yes, and she did, and it was a sauce pot from Sainsbury's, and I did all my spells in it, and it lasted about 6 months. And then I became atheist.
My favorite thing about this, because again, my FromSoft games before this were Dark Souls 1 and Elden Ring. And Dark Souls 1 has like one gimmick boss, and it sucks, actually. The Bed of Chaos, which should be good, but you have to like drop.
Worst FromSoftware boss ever made.
You have to drop down onto that route, and you're just dropping into the hole every time. It should be cool. And I know Demon Souls has some gimmick bosses, so maybe I should give that one a shot. But here you go into this like big, empty like cathedral that has been witchified. And if you have 0 insight, basically nothing happens and you can just clear the room out. But if you have 1 insight or higher, the nasty little sickle guys that you may have seen upon entering will sort of get spawned at a regular rate. And they're pretty workable at just one at a time.
They move pretty slowly.
But there are, in fact, 2 witches, and the game does not let you know that at first. It just implies that there's one with a health bar. There are 2 witches in here, and they are both invisible, and they're teleporting around. And so you have to, like, if you get right next to them, they turn visible, and if you follow, like, other clues that they leave, you'll be able to find them and kill them.
They can heal each other as well, right?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So,
and they can certainly heal the sickle
and
guys.
you get like an advantage if you kill the witch whose health bar you don't see first. It's just really clever. It's just a lot of fun. It's like this weird little nasty little mystery with these 2 ladies who are trying to kill you, and you got to get them first.
And from here, once you have explored the lengths of Hemwick Charnel Lane and the depths of Old Yharnam, you are able to finally climb up and fight Vicar Amelia in the Grand Cathedral in a truly horrific cutscene where we see Amelia transform into a giant deer dog monster that has a very similar moveset to the Cleric Beast if you follow it earlier.
Oh, you don't like puppy girls, AJ?
Not when they're trying to bonk me on the head. Actually, especially when they're trying to bonk me.
But it's interesting here, too, because when you're outside in the cathedral ward, you have these sort of symbols of religious importance and whatever. And when you get inside the cathedral, you can tell that this is an exclusive space because all of a sudden all the statues just become Cthulhu. They're not like robed women and sort of angelic figures. They're just like bugs and shit with like wasp hives for heads.
Statue representations of a boss you can fight later called Amygdala, or the Amygdalas. And as you climb up the stairs and you fight Vicar Amelia, what's unique about this boss fight is that she can heal herself if you aren't able to stun her. But because she is a beast, she is weak to fire. And if you have kept the threaded cane going this long, if you do the long, what would you like do
Whip
the whip
form.
cane thing, you put the fire paper on it and Amelia falls really, really fucking fast.
There's an interesting thing too. I mean, there is so much intention in the design of bosses and enemies in this game and how animations work and everything. In that most bosses are right-handed. So if you dodge around to their left side, they're less able to hit you most of the time.
Yes.
And that was the saving grace for me with Amelia, was like always move right so I get to her left.
The hardest boss, I think, in all of Bloodborne, the final boss of the DLC, well, for most of us, not for Charlotte. One and done to that orphan.
Speaking of one and done, this was also one and done for me.
Wow, incredible.
Now, I will say, similar to my experience with Orphan of Cause, I kind of, you very much know as you come to like you look at those stairs, you're like, okay, whatever the next like biggest sort of like gatekeepy boss is going to be right there. And so I made a special effort to do everything else.
Yes.
And so I was
smart.
as leveled up as I could be going into that fight when I did take it down for the first time.
I think I was too. And I had also, I mean, maybe this is just my memory of it, but my memory is that I spent so much time getting my shit kicked in by the big coat guys. And especially the big coat guy that has like a telegraph pole that he pokes at you that does frenzy. I mean, Jesus Christ. I got so fucked by all of that stuff over and over and over again. I definitely remember doing a lot of just kind of hanging out in Cathedral Ward, seeing the sights. So I think I was probably definitely at least appropriately leveled, if not slightly over leveled.
Yeah, they got those giants in the courtyard that have the top hats on them, which I find they're such big gentlemen.
I remember texting Brendan about that, being like, "This game fucking rocks." Big guy in a little hat.
I love too that later on they fall asleep
once the moon changes, because once you beat Vicar Amelia, once you're able to overcome that, and you touch the skull of Friar Lawrence, who is the founder of the Healing Church.
Yeah, this is a sort of deer-like, horse-like skull on this altar here.
You get to see this very strange cutscene.
Master Willem, I've come to bid you farewell.
Oh, I know. You think now to betray me.
No, but you will never listen. I tell you, I will not forget our adage.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood.
Yes!
Our eyes are yet to open.
Fear the old blood. I must take my leave.
All right, let's get it out there. Who are we? Are we Team Blood or Team Eyes?
I hoarded all of my insight. I am Team Eyes all the way.
Eyes on the inside.
I think it's Eyes. I gotta be Eyes.
I just want to be, I want to be like 130 years old sitting by a lake just going, because I'm just fucking eyes on the inside.
Just pointing. My spider daughter's in there. Go get her. Yeah, so what did that mean? Who are these people? What, to borrow a phrase, is all this then?
Thank you. Yep.
Find out after the break.
All right, lads, let's do this. All right. 'Cause we're the lads of Yharnam, one and all, and with us the peace will fall. Oi there, listeners. Claude Pitchfork here, lead village patrolman and primary torch wielder for all of Yharnam, the city ranked most infested with crows that scream like what people do for 3 years running. Oi! Are you tired of sitting in your home on the night of the hunt, twiddling your thumbs and being a real arsehole to anyone who comes knocking? Does the thought of hiding around corners get your ghoulies a-tingling? Do you like hanging out with some deeply fucked up dogs? Then I'm here to recruit you to the Lads of Yharnam, a local militia/social group who likes to party as hard as they hunt. Joining the Lads means you get all the benefits that come with being a respected member of the Yharnam community. A gun? So join the Lads of Yharnam today, so you two can roam the streets with your best mates and maybe roast a big old werewolf on a pyre. Look, Yharnam's not big on third spaces, you understand? He either got inside, where it's safe, and outside, where it's filled with plague-ridden rats. But as long as we stick together, nothing can take us down. Except Bergenworth. Place is a nightmare. Harry Big Knife, that's my mate, Harry Big Knife, took a trip over there and started getting his head all full of nonsense. Comes back with a big old cage on his head and starts spouting things like, did you know there was more than 4 colours? And did you know injecting random blood you find lying around might be bad for you? And have you heard of this thing called purple? It's like red, but blue. That's impossible, Harry. Red can only be one thing. But he has started smiling more. I hadn't seen Harry smile since his wife done got eaten by Clive's fucked up dog. I asked him why wear a cage at all, and he said, wearing the cage allows me to put out the outside world, allows me to focus on the eyes growing on the inside of my mind. It makes me free. And I asked him what it felt like, to have those eyes growing on the inside, and he smiled and said, well, I'll tell you when I can show you. So Harry pushed the cage on my head, and listener, I saw so many things I couldn't before. Did you know there are giant testicle monsters just like hanging out on the sides of buildings? But for all the horrors, I also saw everything else. A great sea of the universe crashing on my skin as I felt my body slowly contort and merge with that sea. Splish, splash. My eyes fell out of my head, but I didn't need them anymore. Not with all the ones I had on the inside. I saw myself standing on the beach with Harry, with Clive, with the lads, all of us naked, and merging sacks of eyes growing out of our chests, our backs, our legs, all facing the ashen grey sun, all of us knowing that this was the way, that this was our God. We must merge with him. 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 We must. So join the lads of Yharnam today, so you too can gain the wisdom of the cosmos while grabbing a few pints with your best mates. The lads of Yharnam, because you're burgin' worth it. 'Cause when the lads of Yharnam come to call, our space will surely fall.
I think it's time that we make like a certain Stephen Sondheim musical and go into the woods. It's full of snakes. Oh God, what a nightmare area.
Yeah, this game's version of like the Poison Swamp, like Blighttown or Valley of Defilement. But here it's not quite as like difficult as either of those by reputation. It's not easy. And it's got a lot of traps.
Yeah, if you follow the main path, you're going to get trapped at a certain point.
It's got a lot of traps inspired by the hit French film Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah, if you go into like the little town village in the center, there's a big hole that you can fall into, and then you're able to sneak around that. There's also a secret way back to Iosefka's clinic in the forest that you're able to get the summons to Castle Canehurst, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
And that's also where you find one of the first Cthulhus in the game, who's just like this ratty little dude eating a soul of a dead body off behind the clinic.
Yeah, he sucks your insight out of you.
This is also where I think you start to see the verticality of the level design really come into play.
Yeah.
That these levels sort of double back in ways that you weren't necessarily expecting. And so there's utility in exploring those different routes. And what I found most remarkable about this map design is that, and I guess we didn't mention this yet explicitly, there's no map in this game.
Oh, yeah.
There's no
pausing, as mentioned before.
Pausing. No. There's no quest markers.
Yeah.
You are entirely at the mercy of the world itself. And so to be able to communicate that much information while still making sure that the player doesn't get lost, or maybe more accurately, that once they do get lost, they can figure out a way to get back and won't get lost again in the future. It's really, really remarkable.
Full disclosure, I use maps. Sometimes I'm just like, I need to know where the next checkpoint is going to be, just for my own heart.
Yeah. I'm tempted to say, Brian, that you haven't finished Bloodborne.
Wow!
Oh my God!
Wow!
Here's what I'm going to say in response to that. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. You have to do it for work.
Like,
you didn't. I think you missed some of the experiences.
This is just extremely not my thing. I've spent a lot of hours playing these kinds of games, and it's not my thing. And I did this one for work, and I had an okay time with it. And I don't really do the whole like, I'm so good at games. Like when I beat that one boss out of the jail in the first try, I don't know, I was just lucky. It just wasn't a problem. Everything else gave me trouble. Like I suck shit at games. I am on the record. AJ is the only one who fights against this. I am bad at games. Brian Alford, am bad at games and always will be.
Is that true?
And I will also be bad at everything else in life. That is my commitment to all of you.
But don't you get any sort of achievement of like overcoming any of these obstacles and beating them? Okay, that's fair.
But Libby and Charlotte, I'm assuming that you both do because you really love these games, and I would like to hear a bit more about how that is for you, particularly like this big forest level and where it takes you.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things to do, I think, in any video game, and this is part of the reason I like FromSoftware games so much, is I really love to learn every corner of a world and get so familiar with like a horrible place that I feel like part of my overcoming of it is to know it inside out, back to front.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I was fully intending on replaying Bloodborne for this podcast. And I played up until the these woods, the Forbidden Woods, and then I stopped because I was like, whatever I try and do, I can never get my head around these woods at all.
No.
Like, I often think of these games as being like, they are like grown-up Zelda games, and this is just the Lost Woods. And despite the fact that it is not gonna, it's not doing the thing where you go down one, tree trunk and then you're coming right out back at the beginning, it feels like that a lot of the time,
100%.
just based on the geography at the level.
Yeah. What helps is looking at a map online.
Well, because here's the thing, right? I know the route in my bones at this point of how to get to the Shadow of Yharnam, to the boss of this area. Like, I know how to do that. But if you were to ask me, how do you find the aliens that are in the middle of this forest? Gun to my head, I could not tell you. How to get to that pig?
The blue guys, you mean? The blue toadstool guys?
Yeah, the E.T. the E.T. dudes.
Wait, the E.T. You're talking about the guys who kind of look like
the guys who kind of look like
right?
E.T. Yes.
Yeah, the aliens.
Yeah, they're
the
100%
little blue men.
Yeah.
They look like E.T.?
Yes, Josh, that's what
Well,
E.T. looks like.
no,
they look exactly like
They
him.
don't look exactly like E.T.
I don't think they look like E.T. at all.
They look largely
more
like E.T.
than
They
look
are
like
extraterrestrials.
fingers, Josh. Come on, you're being obtuse right now, Josh. They look like
think they're
E.T.
cute.
Maybe
I
you
like
should go
them.
look at a map online of how much they look like E.T.
Okay, maybe you should look at these nuts, motherfucker.
probably
How about
have.
that?
That is what E.T. looks like.
That's true. Then they don't look anything like that at all. Here's what I'll say. I agree with Charlotte about the woods being so confusing. I spent such a long time trying to figure out how to get to. One thing I love about this game is when you can see an item, a little shiny item, and you don't know how to get to it yet. I think there's one that I just never got here because I could not fucking figure it out because I was always getting turned around and then also eaten by a nest of snakes. So that definitely happened. I have always had, as a sister to younger brothers and also just one of the only girls who played video games that I knew. I can't say enough. It changed how I feel about video games in that I was finally able to shed some of that. I'm not a real gamer. I'm bad at video game stuff. I do think I am bad at video games. I'm a Twitch streamer. Some of our friends, like Charlotte or our friend HD Justin, are like good at video games in a way that I'm not. And certainly people don't watch me to watch someone be good at video games. But getting through the challenge of this, like when you have beaten the Orphan of Kos or whatever, you can, even if it took you 70 tries, say, all right, like I'm a gamer. I gamed this, like I did it.
This has been gamed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not something it's so earned basically in these games in a way that it isn't necessarily in other games. And that all discourse aside about whether people who level decks are scumbags or whatever, you do feel like, all right, there are certain benchmarks that you hit where if you did that, you have to have a certain level of skill or ability to be able to do it. And I think also because I did beat it somewhat fast, and people in my chat were saying like, you're going through this really fast or whatever. That felt great. And it really, it did enable me to unlock a sense of confidence that I had not had before. I also think these games are sort of like how people who have cats have toxoplasmosis and think they love them and think that their cats love them. You do just have to have a certain brain disease in order to want the punishment of these games. And I do.
It's like a Stockholm syndrome kind of thing.
Yeah, wait, so which FromSoft game is Digby?
Ooh, that's a great question. Which one is the most perfect and lovely?
I mean, they're all kind of nightmares in their own way.
No, it's true. I guess I'd have to say Elden Ring. It's the biggest one. She's the best.
She's the biggest one.
She's the
No,
largest.
she's so tiny. She's so tiny.
No, she is tiny.
She's doing the most though.
as well.
Yeah, she's doing
I
the
think.
most.
I feel it. I would say Sekiro then, because then there's so much warmth in that game, despite it being like hard as nails. And also, I feel like in order to be Elden Ring, her name would have to begin with a G and R and M.
Yeah.
Yes.
In order
So
to
true.
exist in that world.
So true.
Oh, so that means Ranger.
Digby.
Ranger, who's my little Digby.
Ranger's Elden Ring.
He's an Elden Ring
That's Elden
character.
Ring, yeah. I kind of think she is Sekiro, but I can't say that until I've beaten it. I'm stuck at the moment on the, what's his name, the owl. When you
Yeah, that's a really hard
fight your dad,
So.
and I'm having so much trouble with it, and I haven't gone back to it in a while. So once I've beaten it, I will be able to say that it's Digby.
Okay.
Speaking of very difficult fights, at the end of the forest, if you've made your way through the snakes, you get to fight the Shadow of Yharnam.
There's this snake thing going on, including in this boss fight, that I love. Has no connection with any of the other lore of this game that I'm aware of. It's just like, no, in this place, people just turn into snakes.
Noodly,
some people turn into beasts, some people turn into snakes. This is a snake place.
Yeah, and these are the corpses of the guardians of Queen Yharnam from the labyrinth underneath Bergenworth, which we'll get to in a second, that are being puppeteered by these snakes that are inside of them. This is a boss
that is 3 guys, and you have to fight all 3 guys.
And they all have like different versions of, like, one shoots fire at you, one is a close combat, very aggressive, one kind of is all, like the medium between the two of them.
And then if you can kind of, there's this game that you can play with like their different health levels, where if you can kind of like keep them all alive to a certain point, they won't be snakes for too very long, and then you can just sort of get rid of them a little bit more easily.
Yeah, it forces you to like take them all on as one unit, as opposed to just focusing on one to get rid of one at a time, because it becomes...
Oh, that's what I did, though. I just focused
on
it.
too.
Oh, wow, okay.
That's also what
and
I did.
beat him on the second try, too.
So AJ's just the guy who's like, you have to hit all 3 at once all the time, and you have to let them hit you. And only
not
then,
always. I mean, that's not how I always play it,
I know.
but I think that's what the design philosophy behind the bosses seems to be. And it's a fun way of like ramping up the difficulty as the thing goes. But after this, you go to Bergenworth, right? You go to the source of the sin of this entire world. On the way up, you get jumped by a giant bug man who implants frenzy into your head.
What the fuck is the deal with frenzy? Mechanically, I understand what it does, right? You've got a bar, and then when it fills up, you die.
You don't die.
Not necessarily. Unless
you have a shitload of health, in which case you don't necessarily die. But I don't understand this. I don't understand the point of this mechanic. Other than to piss me off, which it did.
It's a quick. Well, first of all, it's a quick poison, which they have in every game. Like they have a poison, and they also have a toxic.
Yeah, but no,
in Dark
AJ,
Souls.
no. They already have 2 poisons in this game.
Right.
They also, I know, but now they have a third one.
They do have slow, fast, and crazy.
Yeah, well, this is because
this
is also in Elden Ring. There is the whole. Is it called Madness, or is it also still called Frenzy?
Yeah.
Okay, it's Madness, where it's just like, I'm walking around this tower and all of a sudden I'm dead. I don't know. I don't love it myself. I wish that if it's supposed to be madness, it should do something like in Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem or whatever, where you see yourself dead in a bathtub. Or
it fucks with the screen in some
otherwise
way.
it's like your TV is fucking up and your memory card's erasing itself. Yeah, it's just like a meter that goes up and then it hurts you really bad. And you can wear certain clothes that give you a resistance to frenzy. And you can also fight frenzy by having very low insight. I don't know if the game ever actually tells you that, but that's a thing.
Doesn't tell you anything. But then again,
that's a thing you can infer once you like start digging into the lore of it. But yeah, the game is never going to tell you.
No.
You can't infer that by digging into the lore.
Yes,
you can infer that by lowering your insight.
I just want to say there are a lot of things that I missed because I wasn't reading the descriptions, because I literally didn't know you could press square to see more descriptions of stuff.
That's fair. That's fair.
Very
chat
fair.
didn't tell you?
Yeah.
That's where all the story is, Josh, is in the item descriptions in the menu.
Oh, for fuck's
know.
sake.
So ask
That's
us
what I said.
questions or look at things online like I did, which doesn't count as playing the game, but I get to learn things.
You make your chat pay to tell you all this stuff as well, which
That's true. That
really good.
That's the ideal way.
Clearly, I've been doing this wrong.
Yeah. No, it is for sure annoying. Once you know that, it's great, because I hate in a video game when like in Horizon Forbidden West, when you're walking around and you'll be doing a puzzle and Aloy will be just immediately like, I guess I should push this box. I'm like, all right, shut the fuck up. I was getting to it. I just had to check my phone.
I was
You're
gonna do
outside
it.
of
Come
your
on.
shuttle and you look at the toolbox inside and
It's the pig.
God.
Yeah.
This is the reason I gave up on God of War 2.
Yeah.
It's just like the little kid would always tell me the solution to the puzzle before I'd had a chance to think about what the solution might be.
It's
And I was
bloody
like, God
annoying.
damn, I hate this. I like that this game wants you to, is like being stupid is good. Actually, that sometimes if you don't know things, you'll go into a boss fight and it'll be really easy. You won't get as crazy as fast. I think is the like lack of insight also tied into becoming like you can build yourself as like a beast focused guy.
Low insight, because there are these like beast pellets, and I was disappointed. I was like, you can actually transform into a beast in this game? No.
That was a bummer,
but the
right?
beast meter won't go up at all if you have high insight. You have to be stupid, and then your attack will be stronger, but also you'll take bigger hits. I still think that
More
you should be able
damage,
to turn into a dog, but whatever.
Have you played Twilight Princess? Because that's a great one for that.
Yeah. Also, Castlevania.
Which we will get to very shortly. But first, we got to explore this college. We got to explore Bergenworth. I keep adding W's when I spell it. I've never been able to spell it right on the first go. I keep making it more Welsh.
Yeah, you spell it with 2 D's at the end.
Yes. But basically, it's just like one building. And up until this point, you might have actually made it to this place called the Nightmare Frontier, and specifically the lecture hall, which is sort of your passageway into the Nightmare Frontier after being grabbed by one of the invisible amygdalas that are just around Yharnam that you get once you get more insight. But Bergenworth used to be a lot bigger, but those lecture halls got yeeted into a separate dimension.
Yeah, they got sucked into a nightmare, and all that's left is the really, really fancy admin building that has offices for like 2 people.
Yes,
And a bunch of goo ghosts. There's all these goo
I
ghosts.
love the
Or
goo
whatever.
ghosts. Again, with the great
They're
hats.
so
They got the
gooey.
mortarboards on.
Great hats.
And they're
Yeah,
great to
I love 'em.
farm. So warm memories of those hallways for sure.
And once you climb into Bergenworth, there's a really tough as nails, I think, hunter fight
that
in
guy.
here.
And you're also being stalked by mosquito people
Yeah.
who just latch onto your head and suck on you for a bit, and then you die.
And give you frenzy. Once you solve a very basic puzzle of just go get a key from upstairs and then bring it back downstairs and defeat that hunter, you walk out into a balcony and there's Master Wilhelm, the guy from...
That's what he
the
sounds
guy
like,
from
yeah.
the cutscene with Lawrence who told you to fear the old blood, and he's pointing at the lake. And I'm like, well, surely you're not going to jump. We can't survive jumping into a lake.
You can survive jumping into a lake, and stop calling me Shirley.
So you jump into this lake, and you are teleported to a different level of existence.
Yeah, it's like another dream.
Yeah, it feels to me like another dream. This one's sustained by a great one, a man-made great one named Rom the Vacuous Spider, who it's implied was a student at Bergenworth who was the first successful great one that they made. And she doesn't attack you. She's just like staring, chilling out. And the minute you attack her, all of her attacks are defensive. She summons a bunch of little tiny little other spiders around her.
And the
to protect her.
spiders are tricky. You know,
fuck
like
spiders.
they've got armor on the front of them, so you gotta
they
go
can dive bomb
around
you.
the back. They're sort of like Skulltulas. And and they're
Directly
just nasty little fuckers.
Yeah, and they can dive bomb you and pretty much like take out the majority of
Very
your
sharp
health if you're not
legs.
careful. Again, this is a fight that I think is so much easier if you take out all the little guys and then attack.
Yeah,
I love her.
I know. She's done nothing
I do
wrong.
think
She's so cute.
She's so lovely. She's just a mother. I honestly,
She
I
is
love it
mother.
so much. There's a couple of instances in this game where you walk up to a boss and they're just chilling.
I know.
And
Yeah.
and you have to be the one to start hitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she's rightfully pissed off and
Mm-hmm.
is just like, go kiddos.
Yeah.
Now I love her sort of like thematically like that, but this actually ended up being like the hard first playthrough. She was really, really hard for me.
Yeah, me too.
I had to throw myself at this over and over again just because it is very tiresome to take out all of the little spiders and then attack her, and it's not something I do anymore when I do fight her.
And halfway down, she does start attacking you with magic. Like, and it is pretty difficult.
She's teleporting
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
She's like, leave me alone.
Yeah,
you know.
I know.
It hurts to beat her in a way that sometimes, like the best FromSoft bosses, for me, you're always like, yeah, I beat you, and also, oh no.
Yeah, it's sad.
it's kind of like Shadow of the Colossus in that
Yeah,
regard.
you're always like,
Oh,
I'm
sure.
doing
Oh,
something wrong here, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep doing
Yeah,
it.
I should not
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
here. Well, you put Rom down, and this triggers the next moon shift phase, and you get this cutscene where you see this woman in this long white dress, who you find out later is Queen Yharnam
Well, you don't
herself.
find that out later unless you go to the
bottom of the Chalice dungeons.
So
and then you
most
find out
people
that's
don't
who that
find it
is.
out later because they play one Chalice dungeon and go, I'm not going to do more of these.
Was that you, Libby? I see you nodding.
No, I
when
mean,
you were done.
I didn't do any of them before I'd beaten the game, and I want to say even maybe beaten the DLC as well. But then one night, it was just like, you know, like those nights where you just kind of have chip dinner and you just sit around and you're like, I've just wasted my life. One of those, like, that's what the Chalice dungeons were for me. It was like, I just had a podcast on and I was just completely like tuned out, and I was just like, I just want to play Bloodborne and not go through the same places I've seen, but just do some more Bloodborning. And they pretty much suck. I know I went to the cum dungeon at some point, But I want to say maybe I lost a bunch of blood echoes in a way that I thought was bullshit, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get these. I'm just gonna fucking get these back.
I will go to the cum dungeon if I am in a situation where I have run when I'm feeling really horny. That's when I go.
Nice.
When I'm feeling really horny, that's my place to go. For context, it's like a randomly generated like dungeon that someone posted online, and if you walk into it, someone dies off screen, and you just get a bunch of XP.
You get like
you can just
80,000
leave.
or something.
Yeah.
80,000. Then if you have the runes equipped, it's like up to 130,000 or something like that. And the name of it is Cum FPK.
It just happens to have like it's just randomly generated,
like a
right?
hash.
It just happens to have cum in it. So fucking funny.
So it's the Cum Chalice.
Cum.
And I used that for the DLC. I did not use it for the main game. But I did. I was like, I don't know how to beat Ludwig.
I take back what I said before. You're playing this game perfectly, man.
There we go!
You're hitting it on the nail.
You know, I played the first Chalice, which is not like procedurally generated or user generated or anything. It's like it tells a little story. It's a deliberately designed dungeon, and it still sucks ass because it just doesn't have any of the characteristics that you want from any kind of FromSoft game
doesn't
dungeon.
have the source.
You know, it doesn't have the fun loop arounds. It's all just square. It looks kind of cool, but it also looks the same in every single room. There's roots everywhere. Neat.
I wouldn't have as big a problem with the Chalice dungeon run if not for the Defiled Chalice, which basically halves your health and then makes you fight an amygdala in a room that is too small for the amygdala. So when it jumps, you die.
I love that AJ's whole thing is like, yes, I have played every single Chalice dungeon, and I have a slight problem with one of them.
No, I wouldn't have like I don't love them, but I don't have like a problem with them. It's the Defiled one that really makes it.
But Libby,
suck.
you made a really good point talking about listening to podcasts while playing the Chalice dungeon. For me before, whenever I would play Dark Souls or whatever, I was like, okay, this is a game that requires like full attention.
Locking in,
because it's so everything's going to come out and get me. And Ranger is a very needy cat, and I was cat sitting for him when I was playing through Dark Souls 1 the first time around. And so I would be playing, and he'd have his little paw out, just like tapping my side, like pet me right now. And I just like, but that's like how I thought I had to play it. And for a lot of Bloodborne, I'd be like, I'm going to put on a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to something while playing the game. And it actually helped me.
It can help.
Weirdly. Yes. I don't know what to think about that.
Is it just that it kind of gets you out of your own head and into the flow?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that actually gives me the flow that I just otherwise don't have at any point in my life. Maybe this is how I can like play a sport is while listening to, you know, some communist shit poster talking about jizz.
Yeah, this is how I'm going to start getting into the flow when editing podcasts. I'll just listen to a different podcast.
Brian throws a perfect spiral, and in his ears you hear, "Come, Chalice." But I also think because it is an anxiety simulator to a certain extent, that having something to circumvent your brain to like turn off the anxiety, to have something soothing playing actually does help you get through.
I don't listen to soothing podcasts. I only listen to podcasts that trouble me. As a sort of self-improvement thing.
Well, then you'll love What's All This? Well, we only talk about the United Kingdom.
I just hear the word Sainsbury's and I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm troubled.
Yeah. The unease of Sainsbury's. Yeah, we know it well.
Well, speaking of unease, let's talk about Castle Canehurst, i.e. the Castlevania level.
Yeah, there's always Castlevania in these games, right? That's what I love about Dark Souls 1, even though I couldn't fully beat the game. I loved the way everything connected to itself and looped back around like in a Metroidvania. And this level is not super loopy or anything like that. It's just got the aesthetic of like the 3D Castlevania games.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. All these ghosts and mosquito guys and things that I just need to run
gargoyles
past.
that jump scare you. They're like pretending to be gargoyles and then they jump at you.
They're so shitty. Like if you shoot them, even if you're not successfully parrying them, they just fall over.
They're very tired, Brian. They've been frozen in one place for so long. It's really tiring.
Canehurst sort of feels like the Ariamis of Bloodborne, where it's like they had this one idea that they were running with, and it doesn't totally fit in with the rest of the world. So they've put it off to the side as like this weird side thing.
And there's two areas that are completely optional. One is Canehurst, which is the Castlevania level. You fight this guy, Martyr Ligarius, at the top of it. This is a very tricky fight because you can just fall off the roof at any time.
Well, it's also
which I
tricky. He's
did.
just a really, really tough fight.
He's hard.
It's hard. It is a hard one.
I'd say he's the hardest main game fight.
See, for some reason, I
interesting.
had no trouble with him. I don't know why. Again,
Yeah,
that's
you're just
why,
built different.
No,
Yeah.
it's just because I have trouble with bosses that other people find trivial. I had to have chat explain the Witches of Hemwick to me.
That makes sense. They're invisible.
Yeah, and Ligarius has these things where if you get too close, he'll just summon a thing and jump back and it'll explode and you'll basically one-shot you. So there's a lot of things there. And behind him, you find the Vile Blood Queen, who...
She's got a whole thing going on. You met an NPC who talked a lot about her early in the game, but you've forgotten about him because it's been 14 hours since then.
Yeah, I pledged loyalty to her. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing.
The fun thing is you can finish his quest line and have her killed horribly and then take her like liver back to a guy who's like, yeah, I can bring her back.
I was going to talk about the fact that she makes you go around collecting blood dregs because she wants to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And if you look at the blood dregs, they look like they're full of sperm. That's one thing I wanted to say.
Gotta drink that out of the cum chalice.
Yes.
So with blood dregs, because I didn't like do any of her things, what do you get for them? Because you have to like kill NPCs. You have to kill like named NPCs to get blood dregs.
I can't remember just the end of a quest. I'm not sure. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I didn't know for the longest time that the way when you kill Martyr Ligarius or whatever his name is, that to get to the area with the Vile Blood Queen, you have to put on the crown, and that's like the key. I didn't realize that until like playthrough 10. Because every single time I played, I would just put on the crown because I was like, hee, I've got a little crown. I can wear that. I'm just going to wear the little crown for a bit. And then there was the one time where I was like, I won't put on the crown this time. Where's the door not opening? This is crazy.
That's so funny. I love that the game just assumes, obviously, you're going to put on the crown.
Obviously, you're going to put on the crown.
I did not put on the crown, by the way.
Gosh.
I was streaming, actually.
Did you
during
beat him?
that
Did you
fight.
beat Ligarius?
I beat him, and then chat told me to put on the crown. So
there you go. Did they
I think
pay?
you are onto something, Libby, but I should have monetized it.
Yeah. Apparently you just get gestures from her.
Oh, yeah,
So you
that's
can get
a
some
classic
gestures.
FromSoft bullshit thing where you do someone's quest and you have to like, knock on a door in the right way or whatever, and then you get sitting down gesture 5.
Yeah, and it's mostly useless gestures, right? Except for
One
one
that
very
you have to
important
hold for
one
45 seconds or whatever.
that you get in the Upper Cathedral Ward, which I would argue is the only truly scary part of Bloodborne, is when you get up above the
And
Hunter's
again,
Wor-
totally
the Healing
optional.
Church
People have
Workshop.
talked about the Upper Cathedral since the beginning of the game, basically, to be like, that's where the blood ministration happens. And then you'll get to the end of the game, you're like, wait, I never went to that fucking place. Where the hell, where even was the door to that?
It turns out it's in the Healing Church Workshop, but it was a door. You don't get the key for it for a very, very long time.
It's sort of like the password that you get, the Fear the Old Blood thing. You might have come across the NPC who asked for a password, and then by the time you've beaten Amelia, you've forgotten where that door is and have to go hunting for it. And then you open the door and there's just a skeleton back
But with
there.
like a way longer gap with this one, because you can find the way up there super, super early. Definitely most overtly scary because I mean you walk into a big room and it's pitch black and there's a bunch of those big werewolves in there, and then the chandelier falls on the ground and smashes. It's trying a little bit more overtly to just straight up jump scare you.
And then there's these Mind Flayer Cthulhu type guys who most of the time you run into them before this, you get the jump on them because they're eating somebody. And then they're going to eat you. Yeah. Oh my God.
It's so fucking annoying when they suck your head. I hate
so
that
like
shit.
and they
with
take
the
insight.
early ones, you might not have had your head sucked. And then with these, they're looking right at you. They run at you and they shoot a beam that just makes you not move for 13 seconds. And then they
This guy
suck.
needs to get his head sucked. You got to stay right
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
coming
saying.
over.
I think the worst part about it is that it just takes for fucking ever.
Yeah, it's like, yes, I'm getting my head sucked.
Yep.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
I'm
you're
still
sucking.
getting,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
I
yeah,
think the craziest part about it is when they shoot you with the beam and then you see them put their hair in a ponytail and like, oh shit.
Get the chalice!
Yeah, they're scary as fuck. And the wolves, I mean, I'm actually like feeling a little scared thinking about that room full of scary wolves.
Like he's just trying to join in on the fun. And this area leads you up to fight another old one. Ebrietus, I think I was saying Ebrietus in my head when I was playing the game. My theory is that this sort of like secret cathedral that's kind of like inside of a cave of some kind is, I think she's the source of the pale blood that you came to search for from far away. That was my interpretation of it, is that it's either her or it's Rom, because Rom is actually in this room fucking dead as a doornail under like a column that fell on her.
It seems as though the way that the Bloodborne's world is designed, or the way that like people have theorized that it is designed, is that there's Yharnam at the bottom, like the real world where the hunt is happening. And then there are a series of dreams stacked on top of it, these parallel dimensions that are all stacked on top of each other. So when you beat Rom in the lake, my theory was that Rom fell through the lake after you killed it, and that's where it was.
I
in the
think
real
she's
world.
already dead. I know you can't get to the upper cathedral before that point, but like I think that happened a while ago. And so you're seeing Rom entirely inside of a dream, which is how she persists further, right? The same way that you do.
And it is a dream because nightmares work a little bit differently than dreams. And we'll get to that once we get to the Nightmare of Mensis. But in this upper cathedral world, you learn a gesture that you are going to need later, because it's the way that you communicate with
not
great
need,
ones.
but this is all optional.
I guess. But I feel like it's like the one gesture that means something in this game, that has a utility beyond just gesturing. So now you get back onto the main plot, right? You go to Yahar'gul, the unseen village, which you might have been kidnapped here earlier in the game by one of the Sackmen. Yes, and you probably, because he just appears around a corner like, I could probably take this guy, and you can't. I'm just going to tell you right now, you can't.
No, he's going to sack you for sure.
You can get sacked or you can get sucked. Those are your two options.
Fellas.
I mean, welcome to Bloodborne. But you make your way to Yahar'gul, and if you had gotten there previously, the lantern that you use has been broken, so you can't teleport in there. You have to go through this gauntlet where you can finally see amygdalas that are these giant Cthulhu monsters that are like hanging on every single building, a lot of buildings in Yharnam, that can shoot lasers at you now, and you have to run an obstacle course where you are avoiding whole crowds of people and also lasers that can pretty much one-shot kill you.
Did any of you ever go into I don't remember which church it is, but there's a church that you can go into off Cathedral Ward, and if you go in too early, an amygdala just scoops you up and kills you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there's like that
That's
plate
the,
you
like,
can stand on.
entrance to Yahar'gul.
Yeah.
Although the first time it happened to me was I went to go pick up that top hat.
Yeah.
And then everything went blue.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? What the hell's
So-
going on in this crazy game?
I thought it was so
you know?
fucking cool. I was like, I
It
just
is cool.
got my fucking shit scooped by this crazy hand. I love this. I love the design of the amygdalas. They're so good. And the laser ones, like I definitely got killed by them several times. They're tough.
Yeah, they got little testicle heads that have eyes on them that they can shoot the lasers out.
I think there's something cool here about how, because of the way that, well, let me put it this way. I think it's cool in theory, because now all of this stuff makes sense when explained to me, but it wasn't intuitive to me from the storytelling of the game itself. That these are things that you are now seeing because you have greater insight and because you are able to see things that you weren't able to see before, as opposed to these are new guys who just showed up, which is what I thought.
And another thing that happens is that it's linked to either insight or progress. So like they'll also just show up once you get the blood moon. It's like there's sort
Which
of
is what happened to me.
veil being kept in place by Rom.
And that's how I think in your first playthrough, that's what it's designed to do, right?
Okay.
You're usually not supposed to see amygdalas before that point, unless you've just been really housing insight and been able to maintain that insight. But there's really no reason to do so unless you're summoning, and then
Or
and that
if
way
you just
you're
want to
losing
experience some
insight,
shit, if you want to just see the story
Yeah, I
stuff,
guess,
AJ.
that's fair. but you'd have to know that, right? You'd have to look that up. Like, there's no way. Like,
I did.
I always
So
had
then-
a lot of insight. I always kept stacked up on insight until I needed to do the Witches of Hamwick. I was always high on insight because I wanted to see all the cool gooey bits, and I did.
Right.
Wait, did you
you gotta see
expel
the
all of
goo.
your insight when you fought the witches so that there just wouldn't be any guys showing up?
100%. Absolutely.
That is so cool.
Yeah, well, because chat told me I was struggling with it, and they were like, "Oh, honey, here's 400 bits. Now let me tell you, you can just get rid of all that insight, and it'll be real easy." And I was like, "Great."
How do you just get rid of the insight if you don't
just
want
bought
it?
stuff? You just buy stuff. There's the second
there's a little-
bird bath
little
or whatever.
shop for it.
Yeah. You go to the shops.
Yeah, a little shop.
yeah, you get to buy the outfits. You get to wear Garmin's
right.
clothes.
You can spend insight on items.
Yeah,
right.
you can get bullets
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever for it's basically a way to let you get rid of insight.
That's how I got my favorite NPC in the game is Eileen the Crow.
Yes, me
who
too.
is,
a
Eileen's
hunter
great.
must hunt.
yeah, we actually have a clip of her here.
What's wrong? A hunter unnerved by a few beasts. No matter. Without fear in our hearts, we're little different from the beasts themselves. What are you still doing here? Enough trembling in your boots. A hunter must hunt.
God, she is so cool. And
She said the thing.
She said the thing.
Every time you play one of these clips, I'm like, I want to go see Bloodborne live. I want to just, Hannah must hunt. I go crazy.
I do think that the voice acting in this game is great. And Charlotte, I don't know if you agree with this, but there's something about the particular Englishness and English accents that that really go hard for me in a way that I think in a lot of games that are intended for, international audiences, Americans, basically.
Yeah.
The British accents can be a bit one note,
Yeah.
I really appreciate the variety. The way that Mikolash talks, it's not an accent you'd ever hear in another video game. When he's like, grant us eyes, that's not an accent you're going to hear in the fucking...
Some say, Colson.
Yeah, exactly. No, it rocks. And Eileen too.
Yeah.
It's like, I really like the accent work in it.
I agree. I do. I think they have built upon it in a lovely way with Elden Ring, where they have a bunch of people with Welsh accents as well. I think they're doing. They always nail it on this front for sure. And it's a big reason I love Eileen too, because she's she's just so cool. She's got those little daggers.
Yeah.
She's got the Plague Doctor mask as well.
Well, and she's an interesting character because hunters in this game, especially now, it seems like things have just sort of gradually been getting worse on the night of the hunt. Like the night's getting longer, more people turn to beasts. All the people who are like partying, who have usually done that years on end, by the time the blood moon is out, if you go to their door, you just hear them like screaming or gurgling or whatever.
Yeah, they're just going crazy.
And Eileen comes from another place. They say that she's from another land where they do sky burials. And so the whole idea of like cremating and these other practices around death are just abhorrent to her. And so she goes and hunts hunters and she kills them dead.
Before they can turn into beasts too, specifically, because that is sort of the fate of all hunters is they get blood drunk because they inject way too much of that blood into themselves in order to be strong enough to fight the beast. And then they turn into beasts
we
themselves.
saw this with Father Gascoigne. Earlier on in the game.
Gascoigne,
Father Gascoigne is what I like to call him.
He's all over the shop.
Father Gascoigne.
Just call him Father Garibaldi. You're fine.
I think this is the game riffing on the Iroquois character in the Brotherhood of the Wolf, especially since some of the Plains tribes would do like tree burials for people, including the Crow tribe. However, when I think of sky burials, I think of like Nepal and India and like Zoroastrianism and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not doing like Native American aesthetics with any of this, right? She's wearing something that looks pretty, I would say, European.
And there's something too about the fact that Eileen's is the only hunter that you meet that cares about you. Like Jura can if you like join his side, but Eileen is like actively looking out for you and giving you advice in a way that Garrum's like, I don't know, fucking go hunt
unless
or whatever.
you just happen to miss part of her mission and then she hates you.
And then she turns on you because she herself gets blood drunk. But if you are able to follow it through to the end, it is probably the most satisfying NPC arc in the whole game. But back on the main path, right? We are in the village of Yahar'gul. And the reason you are here is because this splinter group of the College of Byrgenwerth, the School of Mensis, have decided to do a ritual where they pull a great one, a dead great one, down from the sky.
They're immanentizing the eschaton. When you're walking around in Yahar'gul, you see these like, it's almost like Pompeii, but it's like weirder. Where it's like, were these like sculpted or did some sort of catastrophe hit where you see like people embedded in the walls of this city?
Yeah.
And there are all these boxes around. This is kind of a Lovecraft motif that you see a lot too. These boxes that are full of like corpse parts, and the corpse parts are all coming out, and you can surmise that maybe these are early experiments in them doing what eventually becomes the boss fight in this area.
Yeah, there's one hidden inside a carriage that is so scary the first time you walk past it, and then once you know it's there, it's so goofy because you can trigger it, and he just jumps up and goes,
yeah, this area just used to be full of pigs, and now it's full of these crates full of body parts.
It's full of what?
It's full of what?
Full of crates, full of body parts.
No, but what did it used to be full of?
It's the pig.
But more than one. Yeah.
The pigs.
I'm going to back you up here. I waited patiently, but yeah, there are usually big pigs in this
Big
farm,
pigs.
and now and now it's a bunch of dead guys stuck together.
Yeah.
This is
I love
this is a good
Yharnam.
farming place, right? This is a good place to
Definitely.
just get
Like,
a bunch of blood echoes.
I love that you walk into Yharnam and you're like, this is where everything's happening.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like
Yeah.
this is like where there's like
This is the
choir
club.
sort of like ambience the whole time. It gets louder and louder the deeper into it you get, like the closer you get to the ritual.
Yeah.
You're like, a lot of the game is like learning about how have we gotten to this point, and this is the first bit of the game where you're like, okay, this is where shit's currently going down in this world.
Yeah.
They're gonna try and summon the Great One.
Yeah, there are these corpses sitting around this area who are like seated in prominent places, and they've got these big old cages on their heads, and you're just like, what's that about?
What's all this then?
Let's go.
Podcast.
Once you make your way through this area, which is a gauntlet, there's even like super werewolves in this area that you haven't seen before, these variations on the werewolf. And you make your way to this big arena and you're like, oh, boss battle. And lo and behold, this giant goo monster falls from the sky and he's got little spell summoners around him that can that are buffing him.
Yeah,
so
they're
you have to
throwing
run
little
around.
healing orbs at him and fireballs at you, so you can kill them all around the perimeter before fighting him.
And this can be a frustrating boss fight or a very simple one, depending on whether or not you take out those bell ringers or not.
Even then, the simplicity doesn't necessarily mean it's easy, because there are some good spots where you can get up close to him and hack away, but he's also got these little legs that'll fucking kick the shit out of you.
That'll just kick you. And meanwhile, like as the little leg kicks you, you're just here, like this huge choir for this
and
little tiny.
he vomits. And it's the vomit that would keep getting me in this fight.
I feel like something's kind of messed up about this game.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like maybe the ritual
Yeah.
to bring back like one of the great ones, maybe like didn't kind of work out like they were intending. I don't know. What do you guys think?
He kind of looks like the pig monster in Galaxy Quest that
It's
they
the
return
pig.
inside out after they teleport him
Yeah.
up. Clearly, this ritual did not work and should never have happened.
I think it's fine. I think it's chill.
Great. Well, after it's done, like you have to go and confront the people who did this, right? And it turns out they all died a while ago, and it's just their skeletons,
passed.
like a long.
Yeah, you go
fucking
into
time
this
ago.
classroom that looks almost like a surgical theater. Everyone's stacked really high, and there's just this one dude who I guess was the lecturer who's sitting right in the middle, and you touch him and end up in the nightmare.
You end up in the nightmare of Mensis.
And
which
these are the
is-
goo ghosts that we mentioned earlier, right?
Well, they're different from the
these-
goo ghosts. This is a different class of people, I think. Maybe they're not. Maybe you're right, though. Because as we see with the scenery in the nightmare, there are all these sort of like stones that have faces. Like everyone has kind of turned into this big igneous rock together. And the goo ghosts could be one of the steps in that process. Like their nightmare selves are liquefying, with the exception of their professor.
It seems as though the Mensis students all sacrificed their sanity in order to create another man-made great one, which is called the Brain of Mensis, which is this thing that sits in a tower and inflicts frenzy on you if you see it. So you have to just basically run. This is an area where you kind of have to run past enemies just because the frenzy builds
Indications,
up to
however,
it.
that the nightmare existed before, and they merely like channeled their way to it, which also sucked most of the college into the nightmare.
Yes, because the nightmare is hosted by Murgo, who is Queen Yharnam's child that sits at the
There's
top
also
of
an
the tower.
indication in an item description somewhere that like the brain is something that they found in there and then maybe kind of like fixed up a little bit. But it's kind of like a
And
dead,
chained up
rotting
so they
great
would-
one. Yeah.
So this is a lot of lore. In terms of the
It's not that
gameplay,
much lore, Josh.
this is some lore. At this
We've
point,
talked about lore at all, Brian. That's the problem.
At this point in the game, well, I am curious to hear how we found this portion to be mechanically, particularly with getting hit with the frenzy, these guys getting more powerful, going up the hill to get to the big castle. The reason I ask is, for me personally, this is when I had to take a break from the game for a while because it was starting to get so frustrating. And I'm curious, Libby, Charlotte, if you were vibing with it at this point, how you feel about this part.
I mean, like, the fear just keeps on ramping up in a way that I think if you just sort of give in to that, and if you enjoy that sort of ramping up fear and trying to overcome it, then it's going to feel good.
Yeah.
That this is the part of the game where they're going to do the sort of thing, they're going to just throw a really big spider at you. Yeah. So if you're just one of those people who really hates spiders, I'm sorry. It's time to fight the really big spider. It gets a little bit easier when they give them human faces and they're like, okay, well, it's fine because they look a little bit goofy and they've got little bowl cuts and that's all right. But I mean, I hate to be sort of one note on it, but that's kind of why I love the game is that it just keeps on getting scarier and scarier. And every time I come back to it, I'm like, can I feel like, can I still do this? Even though I've played it however many times, 100%ed it and all of that stuff, although I haven't done all of the Chalice dungeons. Sorry. That's like the one achievement I still haven't done yet, but that's fine.
I think that what frustrates me about this are the little parasites inside the werewolves, because they're so small.
Those fucking worms.
I like the werewolves.
Yeah,
I like the beasts that have been in the nightmare and are being deformed by it, and their faces are turning sideways.
Yeah, I love that. It's literally just the worms that bother me.
I do also like that frenzy is equal opportunity here. It hits the enemies as well, and you can kind of leverage that a little bit. But I find the line of sight mechanic to be iffy. Like, I'll get behind something where I'm obviously not being seen by the brain anymore, but the meter is still going up for a couple more seconds. I think that's stupid. It just seems like it's not totally polished in how they've built the game out. And it's for some reason even worse on that bridge with the frenzy ladies.
Yeah, I do think
with the winter lanterns. Yeah,
I think you would really lose. For me, I think I would really lose a lot if I was standing behind a perfectly rectangular block and I'm standing in the shadow and I'm like, now I know I'm not going to get frenzied here.
But like the thing is that is a mechanic in there. Like, you do lose frenzy by standing behind the walls. It just doesn't always work.
Well, because it doesn't just go up in the way that Poison Bar goes up, right?
Sure.
It kind of like operates like a violin string being played, like it vibrates a little bit because it is so much more unstable than just a poisoning of the body. It is a poisoning of the mind, so it is a little bit more erratic. And I think that's why it goes up a little bit before it drops back down, is because it's just shaking so wildly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it is satisfying when you get to the big brain and you send it down to the depths and you're like, this thing was so annoying. And now I've dealt with it.
About halfway up the tower, you meet the host of the nightmare, the head of the School of Mensis, this guy named Mikolash.
Hey, we love gimmick bosses. I just talked so much about how much I love gimmick bosses.
Yeah, let's talk about this one. Let's hear his villain speech, shall we?
Cause, or some say cosm. Do you hear our prayers? No, we shall not abandon the dream. No one can catch us. No one can stop us now.
And then you fight him. And, first you chase him.
Yeah, first you have to chase him.
You gotta do a Scooby-Doo chase around with all these skellymen. Yeah, he appears out one door. You go into that door. He appears out another
these
door.
Little mannequins
and then,
that you gotta fight back, and they don't give you any blood echoes. And thankfully, he doesn't hit you for a lot of damage when he hits you. So this is gonna be fine once you actually get to the arena with him, right?
So here's the thing about Mikolash. I understand what they're going for here, right?
Yeah.
This is a guy who has put all of his stuff into insight. So he's going to be crafty. He's going to be tricky.
Run through mirrors.
He can't fight you one-on-one, and when he does, honestly, his fists hurt a lot when he
they don't
chops
take that
at
much
you. Like,
damage.
it does a lot of,
they just stagger the shit out of you.
Yeah, so then he's able to hit you with his actual magic. So I understand what they were going for, but this fight is very annoying, and there is a exploit that you can do where you throw poison daggers at him that FromSoft could have patched out at any point in the course of it. But they didn't because I think they knew at their heart of hearts that this was a very annoying boss fight.
Yeah.
And they wanted to give you the out if you wanted to.
It's the same reason why the 3 points in Bed of Chaos all just take 1 hit.
I like him as a character. I think it is my least favorite fight in the game. I think I tend to not really be sort of huge on like the NPC fights sort of generally, both in like this game and like other FromSoftware games for the most part.
Yeah, if they're humanoid,
It is like we're going to take the sort of run back and we're going to turn that into the fight now, which is
you still have to do a run back to get to the run back.
Exactly. If this is the worst boss in Bloodborne, then it's okay.
Well, it's the second worst boss. The living failures are the worst boss, but
but we're in the base game.
Yeah,
but
right,
the living failures, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I hated it. I mean, I love Mikolash, so I was happy to hear his sweet voice every time, but I just sucked at I couldn't keep track of where I was supposed to chase him, and I wasn't good at that part, and I was sort of grateful to be done with it.
Because once you're on the other side, it's pretty much smooth sailing until the end of the game, right? You as Charlotte, you said before, the horror keeps ramping up because all of a sudden the crow enemies that you've seen the whole game who do like a jump scare at you every time you're near them, now they have dog faces and the dogs have crow heads.
Sewed together.
Such a good joke. I love that. I was like, you got it. You got it.
The pigs have hundreds of eyeballs now.
It's the pig.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a little farming area where you can get the pigs to kill the other NPCs by making them charge them.
Oh, and Shadow of Yharnam is just like a regular. That's just like a regular guy.
Yeah, that's so funny.
There's 6 of them now.
Yeah.
And so after you've faced this whole gauntlet, the reason why there's so many Shadow of Yharnam is because Queen Yharnam herself is standing outside the boss door.
Yeah. Again, we saw her before on the lake, but she's always kind of a projection of herself.
And you go into the final boss arena, and this whole time, if your insight has been high enough, you have been able to hear a baby crying your entire way through the Nightmare Mensis. And you get to the top, and there's a little bassinet sitting in the little baby carriage, sitting in the middle of the arena, and guarding this crying child is a nightmare creature known as Murgo's wet nurse. Oh boy, you don't ever see her. You just see the drapings over her.
She's completely
and her thousands
invisible.
of knives.
This is the page straight out of the Dunwich Horror, where they finally fight Wilbur Whatley's twin brother, and he's invisible because he resembles his father. This is just great design. I love seeing the draped fabric kind of going around. And this is potentially the last boss. This can be the last boss of the game, depending on your next decision. Right. And she's quite simple in a lot of ways, right? She's mainly just, 6 knives. 8 knives?
Yeah, that you have to dodge out of the way. And
she doesn't have like all these like ranged attacks and area of effect attacks is what I mean.
It is the fight that I have done the least, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, if I'm coming back to the game, I'm not going all the way through. And usually at this particular door, that's when I'm stopping and moving into the DLC. Yeah. So I feel like I haven't actually fought her that many times.
Because after you beat her, the hunter's dream catches on fire. Right. And if you don't want that to happen, you shouldn't.
Yeah. And there's a really interesting thing. Once you beat Murgo's wet nurse, the thing that you're actually killing is not her, but the baby. And you just sit there and hear the baby crying and crying and crying, and then it stops.
Yeah.
And it says nightmare slain. You've done it. You've killed the host of this particular nightmare, which is...
You killed the baby!
Yeah. We should talk for like a minute about what these babies are, because in the game, there are these great ones that you've been encountering, these sort of old gods type things. And they... Apparently, some of them are ascended humans. Some of them might just be from like out in space or something like that, like in Lovecraft stories. But they are unable to have children of their own. And so they end up having those children with human specimens of some kind, right? They implant or whatever. And you come across, if you've been paying a lot of attention, and you get one at the end of this boss fight, you come across like a third of an umbilical cord. There's actually 4 of them.
There's
4 of them. So you only
there's 1 extra.
Yeah, you have to find 3
just in case.
And you very likely won't find all 3 on your first playthrough unless you're just looking at the internet for everything, like somebody here. You can get other ones by killing NPCs like the fake Yosefka who's like, I'm giving birth to a god. And it's like, well, I'm killing you and stealing your umbilical cord that's full of eyes.
Or if you take in the sex worker into the Odin's chapel, if you send her there, she also gives birth to
I would argue she's not even a
Udons.
sex worker. I think she just gives people her blood. I think that's just what people in Yharnam do instead of having sex is just like trade blood with each other.
Yeah, I mean, the priestess from the Healing Church doesn't look fondly on her and she also gives blood, so I think there is an element of sex work.
Does it in a church accepted way. You know what I mean?
I see. It's not in the heretical way, not in that way. Yes, no, I get it.
Women will fight about anything. So.
They'll even kill each other over this stuff.
That's right.
As well.
She will kill her.
I do really like that when you have those conversations with, I think it's Ariana, that you can see the religious lady sort of like poke her head around. She's like really jealous that you're gonna like take some blood from her. She's like, my blood is like holy and pure. You want my blood, right?
No, I want the slag blood actually.
And then it's really sad because she gives birth to a baby great one. She's like, and she's sobbing over it. And if you kill the baby great one, she also dies immediately.
So this baby is important. The baby in the nightmare. Yharnam, the woman for whom all this place is named, who's like some ancient being, has presumably given birth to this child a very long time ago. So it takes a very long time for these sort of antichrist figures to mature, I guess. And something must have happened in the real world because it's like now incubating inside of a nightmare, which has some sort of different rule to the real world, right? And so now that it's gone, her like ghost projection thing kind of seems to thank you for it.
Yeah, she gives a little bow for you, and she vanishes because that child died as a stillborn, and this is just the restless spirit that's kind of clung on. And so you are granting peace to Murgo by defeating her within the dream. It's the same thing you do with pretty much everyone you fight in a dream or a nightmare, is that you are trying to set them free.
Like with Mikolash, you woke him up. It's just that he happens to be dead, so it doesn't work out for him.
Yeah, no, that's quite bad. Mikolash is a really bad thing. But you return to the Hunter's Dream after you defeat Murgo's wet nurse, and the doll is there, and it tells you to go to the base of the great tree because Gehrman, the first hunter, wants to have a little chat with you. And when you get there, this is the final boss of the game. You're in a giant boss arena. It's this beautiful hill filled with like white flowers, and you get 3 options. He's like, hey, so we've reached the end of the dream. Everything's fine. Surrender your life to me, and you can wake up and be fine.
You've resolved the nightmare situation, which was causing everyone to turn into beasts more than usual, ? And so you can just end this, and it would be a normal hunt, just like we have every year. And then he kills you in the dream. You're no longer a dreamer. You're just a guy who did a hunt yesterday.
And you do it, and you wake up in Yharnam, and it's all bright and shiny and glowing, but the hunt will continue, right? This cycle of violence will continue until morale improves.
Arguably resource extraction, right? This blood, I feel, is hunters going and getting it so that they can sell it or export it to whatever other country, because they're coming from all over the world to do this. And so it's like this resource extraction on this place that for 100 years, it was like, oh yeah, we're helping all the people who are turning into beasts. But the more you do it, the more people are turning into beasts over the course of the century. And so you're guaranteeing that this will continue for the next century.
It's really an anti-tourism game. You know?
I think above all else, yes, it's stay away as far away from Britain as possible.
Bloodborne 2, Mallorca.
Oh, no!
Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday.
But if you refuse his request and refuse to give up your life, then Gehrman has a little speech for you that sounds like this.
Dear, oh dear, what was it? The hunt, the blood, or the horrible dream? No, it doesn't matter. It always comes down to the hunter's helper to clean up after these sorts of messes.
And his scythe pops out.
Tonight, Gehrman joins the hunt.
Then the Smash Bros logo flashes across the screen.
He does the classic like Yoda thing. He throws his wheelchair away and he's like, I'm fighting you for real this time.
Starts flying, yeah.
It's very similar to the Gascoigne fight, but faster and more intense. It's really fun. I really love this fight as sort of a culmination of the game.
He's great.
And that can be it.
If you haven't eaten all those umbilical cords that you've been just happening across,
and I know it's been tempting. You've been looking at them going, "Oh, those look good."
then this is the end of the game, and then you replace Gehrman. You become the guy who watches the dream. And again, the cycle will continue for the next century.
Yes, you will just be presiding over the hunt and presumably have to chop somebody's head off when they come to the tree.
But hey, you got the doll who you can do whatever you want to.
Whatever your pleasure is or whatever the fuck you said.
Yeah.
You could just be friends. Like, it didn't really feel like the doll and German really like hung out that much, which is kind of sad.
You never saw them chatting, sharing jokes.
There's really good reason for that, and we'll get to that. But if you eat all those umbilical cords, if you eat 3/3
way ahead of
umbilical
you
cord to make one umbilical cord, chop those things down, then the moon presence, who's the thing that gives Gehrman his boost, like midway through the fight,
who's literally the moon, the red moon that's been hanging above you,
comes down. It's this giant like
bug,
a monster of some kind. Yeah, it kind of looks like the aliens from Independence Day. It comes down and it thinks that you are its child because you've eaten all these umbilical cords. And when it realizes that you're not, it gets really pissed off and you have to defeat it. And if you are able to overcome that, this is a big beast fight, right? We've had the hunter fight and now we have the beast fight to end the game. And once you defeat...
Really nicely bookending.
Yeah.
It's so cool, right?
Yeah.
It's the Cleric Beast Gascoigne matchup from the beginning. You defeat the moon presence and then the moon presence accepts you as one of its own and makes you ascend. Turns you into a great one. You turn into a little baby slug and the doll greets you like this.
Are you cold?
She leans down, picks you up. You're very gooey.
Oh, good hunter.
And who knows what that really means? You get to ascend. I guess you have attained the pale blood that you need to ascend because you are now a pale-blooded creature.
You have become a great one and you have transcended the hunt. And whether this means that you can now use your newfound power to affect change and end the hunt, sure. Or maybe you're just like an evil god.
No, but you probably just become completely indifferent, right? Like that seems to be what most of these great ones become, is just like a thing with their own motivations and perspectives beyond that of the world. And so the matter of whether the cycle continues or not is irrelevant to the slug version of yourself.
It's no longer your problem.
Yeah.
Which is just great as far as I'm concerned.
You become an expatriate of Yharnam.
It's the closest you can get to actually properly dying in the game, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can get, well, I guess if you escape from the dream and like the first ending, then you could go off and just die normal style. But it's true ego death. It's the third ending. You're going to be a slug now, and you don't have to worry about all of that, beastliness that you had in you before.
God, that sounds great. I want to be a slug so bad.
I would love to be a slug. Yeah. And this is a slug simulator at the end of the day. Sure. That's the final turn of Bloodborne. Because that is the end of the game.
Good game.
Yeah, good game.
Yeah, great.
Pretty good game.
Pretty good.
Charlotte, Libby, thank you so much for coming on the show to chat with us about Bloodborne. What would you say is the lesson that we can take away from either the game design or the story or the legacy of Bloodborne?
Don't go to England. It's too scary,
crazy
too dark.
Place.
Yeah. You're gonna get turned into a slug or a spider with eyes or a pig, snake man. It's all happening there. No, I don't know. I mean, I definitely had to watch videos afterwards in fact, as I was closing in on the last like 5 or 10 hours of the game, I was like, I can't wait to finish this so I can watch some fucking lore videos and understand what I just played. And that was truly like one of the best parts. I started reading that book, or not book, but long Google Doc that is basically a book. I forgot what it's called, but it's fucking great.
Yeah, it's a Pale Blood something.
That's right. Yeah.
We'll link it in the notes.
It just kind of puts it all together. And yeah, look, like I said, it changed my gaming life. I've spent probably 2/3 of my streaming time this year playing FromSoft games because of this game and because of Difficult Games Week.
It's the main way we hang out right now.
Is playing Night Rain.
Night Rain together.
Sure.
Yeah.
And recording our podcast.
Yeah, I guess that's probably the big one.
You're playing Night Rain while you record the podcast.
We should do that. Actually, okay, Charlotte, great idea for an episode, the Night Rain episode, where we're basically not concentrating at all. We're saying, all right, so let's go to this fort, and then
and you have a third guest on, so you can have the full.
But they're not playing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not playing.
Yeah,
they're just trying to talk about keeping up appearances or
they're
whatever.
in the cock chair, and we're fighting the Crucible Knight in the Everjail. No, I mean it's fucking fantastic. I adore it, and I'm probably gonna play it again before I finish Sekiro or Dark Souls 3 because those are too hard. Bloodborne, not that hard. Just gonna say it. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. People oversell how hard it is for sure because it's like we all want to talk up how good we are or whatever. It's not that hard.
Compared to the other games, like I think the fact that because it's simpler, you don't have 1,000 different weapons to pick from and that you've already upgraded, and then if you switch a weapon, you're fucked. Like, there's something about it that is easier. I did manage to beat this, asterisk, but the asterisk is also there for all the other FromSoft games I play. Mm-hmm. And I was so worried that it was like, well, it's Dark Souls, but it's fast. And I was like, well, that's just extremely not something that I can do. But it's fully designed to fit like this specific way of playing as opposed to trying to accommodate 50 different ways of playing.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, not really succeeding. Hello, stealth elements in Elden Ring. Real fun in the first 5 hours. And yeah, something about it just like coheres better than the other ones. It's still very difficult. And when we talk about the DLC, we'll talk about them being completely on their bullshit again. But
oh yeah.
Yep.
No, we barely even talked about all of the weapons.
Yeah.
I know we talked about the introductory ones, but I do think one of my favorite things about Bloodborne is the trick weapons. I would really love if they I don't need a Bloodborne 2. I would like a trick weapons game by FromSoftware
Totally.
because I really like how few weapons there are, but how I played through the game the first time just with the big axe and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
me too.
it's one of those games where like I would happily play through the whole thing with one of those weapons just to like have that experience. Really had a good time with Gehrman's scythe. That's a really, really fun one to use. Yeah, it definitely, I mean, it's in the camp of games that I was like, I feel accomplished. I feel confident in my gaming abilities now because I have done Bloodborne. Mm-hmm. That's really good. I really, I'm a big fan of all of the lore stuff. I feel like despite having thought about it a lot, I feel I don't really understand most of it still. And I do like that about it because I do find that when something does click for me, it's usually fun and interesting and weird, and I can connect it to something, which I don't really find as much with Elden Ring and Dark Souls. That stuff, it's a web of sort of like fantasy family stuff that doesn't sort of like hit as much for me.
Yeah.
But Bloodborne really does do that.
One thing that I think would hit pretty hard would be if Libby and Charlotte, you could tell our listeners where they should go if they want to find you, listen to you, follow you around online, and so forth.
Charlotte, you want to do this because you do it on our show, so you could just roll it off.
I'm not going to do the intro to our show right here.
Yeah, just
I guess I could, and then you could just, listener, you could just immediately just transition.
Well, sort of like
seamlessly.
Bloodborne, it's credits and then it starts over again. So we'll just start playing a full episode of your show at this point in our episode.
Yeah, we're sort of the new game plus of the World War Popular World.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Hell yeah.
The whole idea is that me and Libby are British, but we both left the UK, and so it's kind of like a weird foreign country to us as well as being our home, and we think it's kind of shit, but also get kind of mad when people say it's kind of shit. So it's about us sort of like exploring that and some of the fun aspects, and I really enjoyed doing the episode with Josh. That was really fun, talking about Only Connect.
Yes.
Because that's such a crazy, very specifically British kind of game show that is kind of like doing the crossword for really nerdy people, but it's on telly.
Have either of you gone back and watched any more Only Connect since?
Okay, so I put it on a while ago for my friend, and then Lewis was also watching it, my husband, and he turned to me and he said, this is the worst show I've ever seen.
Yes,
it really is, and that's why I love it. Yeah.
It was so funny. Oh my god, really funny. Yeah, the people on it were also particularly annoying. They were like dancing. They were doing a little dance. Just no. Anyway, great. It was a great time. I love the podcast. Charlotte, did we say what's all this post on Instagram and Blue Sky also? And
we got a Patreon for it as well. We do bonus episodes every single week. We've got an episode that might be out at this point where me and Libby were together because Libby came to visit me in Toronto.
How nice.
Lovely.
We're two people who kind of put off doing a podcast for a very long time. So it's new as far as a podcast is concerned. But
but what a killer lineup you've had so far of guests. Yeah. I'd really recommend the John Gabris episode about lads.
Oh, thanks.
Culture.
We love Gabriel.
Lad culture. Oh, it's so heartwarming, honestly. I really love for such a harrowing topic. Like it really, y'all handled it incredibly well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
That was a really fun one. I was worried that we were maybe slightly too kind to lads, but I don't think we were. I think I stand by basically everything I say and everything I've always said. So
we'll have links down in the show notes, both for your podcast as well as your individual streams. So everybody, please go check that out. And also, if you've been enjoying our show, I've got great news for you. We've also got a Patreon. Patreon.com/worstofall gets you access to all of our premium episodes, our whole back catalog. Got a lot of good stuff in there about video games. I'd recommend go checking it out. You might find something that you like.
So Bloodborne for me, as has been brought up multiple times throughout this podcast, is a really great way to tackle my anxiety in a way that I can handle. It allows me to put all of my insecurities into a thing that I can overcome and conquer and control. And I find that to be incredibly freeing, because after I beat a boss in a FromSoft game, and particularly in Bloodborne, I feel like I have achieved something that I had never been able to achieve without it. And so if that is a thing that also resonates with you, then I just want to leave you with a quote from Eileen the Crow, my favorite NPC in Bloodborne.
You still have dreams? Then take a rest and get your feet back on the ground. Tell the little doll I said hello.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm the worst of all possible Brians.
And I'm the worst of all possible Joshes. See you next week.
I forgot to cut this clip.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I was like, wow, we're doing something really dramatic here. I'm not going to let it stop. I'm going to...
Now I'm crying.
yeah.
Yeah,
Think about it.
We're all crying.
Everybody's crying.